I won't deny it, I'm a Southsider. You don't wanna mess with me. Got the police looking for me. But I'm calm cause I'm smoking that CBD. Said I won't deny it, I'm a Southsider. You don't wanna mess with me. Got the police looking for me. But I'm chilling in the back of the VIP. Said they won't deny it, they are Southsiders. You don't wanna mess with them. The police looking for them. But there's nothing that they can do when you're chilling with the Sometimes on Sunday podcast crew.
Hey.
What the fuck is up, everybody?
That was funky, bro. That was funky.
Let's go.
Shit, that shit is hard to land for everybody listening out there. It's like our third or fourth take, and normally I get it better, but goddamn, sleep deprived. So, I'm Brian Tierney. This is the Blessed Life University podcast, BLU podcast for short. Today's podcast is a collab with the Sometimes on Sundays podcast crew. And gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for bearing with me, and good to see you guys, man.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Salud.
Just drinking some water here, but
Yep.
fucking cheers, man.
I'm drinking pure vodka.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, no, man, it's great to see you guys. I was telling Albert before you guys got here that I think this might be the first time I've seen you guys since like 2003, man.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Well,
Been a minute.
2001 for me.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, because I left
graduated.
at freshman year, so
Where'd you go after that?
I went to Morton East afterwards.
Okay, Morton East, yeah. We were, even though we weren't going to school together, I was still hanging out that way because Frank Sokol and his sister would always throw fucking house parties right over there by Morton East, and
Okay.
a bunch of friends from Joe's that lived over there. But yeah, man, it's been too long, and out of all the people we went to school with, man, like you guys are people that I wanted to stay in touch with, and I'm just glad that podcasting brought us back together. You
Who
know?
would have thought?
Yeah,
Right?
really.
That was crazy that
Really?
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, for sure.
It's something that's brought a lot of people into my life. You know, and we'll probably be talking more about that as we go through the podcast. But yeah, how was it? Did you guys see me on like Facebook or YouTube or some shit? Or
Hans
Yeah.
brought it up, actually.
I had seen you on Facebook plenty.
Yeah.
Here and there over the years.
Yeah, I think you did a promo on Facebook at some point, and I just started checking you out on YouTube, and that's how I ended up realizing you had the podcast, and that's when I reached out to you, like, hey, you want to collab?
for sure, man, for sure. Like I'm really glad about this because like, you know, time puts distance between people, and fucking, you know, we didn't have a huge graduating class. You know, you're like us, you go to Catholic school, and like, you know, what do we have, like 120 kids or 30 kids in our graduating class at
Yeah,
St.
it was
Joe's.
a small class.
Yeah, so it wasn't a lot of dudes, but
A lot of dicks.
a lot of dicks. A lot of dick pics. Back in the day, they were just drawings.
Too many dicks.
Yeah, too many dicks.
Too many dicks in the classroom.
Oh, that was like that was all guys there? Wasn't cool?
It
Yeah.
was, when we went there, it was all guys. So
Yeah.
they eventually had to go co-ed to try to keep the doors open, which St. Joe's, rest in peace, they couldn't do it. I mean, it's just working people can't really seem to afford these Catholic school tuition rates nowadays.
What was it, like 3-4 years afterwards?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was it was actually fairly recent, actually.
Afterwards, right?
They went
What was the
co-ed
tuition
shortly
like?
after we.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
a couple years after.
Shortly after, which I was furious about.
Yeah.
Me
We
too.
both.
That would've been nice.
The poor
nice.
girls
Yeah.
would have to come over for like exchange classes, and they'd feel like pieces of meat because everybody be drooling and be walking down. Oh my god, look at her legs and those skirts. And then it goes co-ed, and like fuck.
Yeah.
You know, like, it was like an all guys prison when we went there, and now they have.
And then you also knew why everyone was taking French. Why all the guys would take French.
yeah.
Did
I
the tuition
had
drop?
Spanish out there too.
Did the tuition drop when they went co-ed?
I don't think so, man.
That'd be even more insulting that the tuition dropped and you went co-ed.
It would be, right?
It's
You
more
were charging
affordable
us
and
more
there's
for
poon?
less.
And there's poon there?
What was tuition?
Fucking value meal of education.
When we went, it was $7,500 a year, I think, as we were
Something
graduating.
about that.
And that was back then, man.
That was back then. Yeah.
and that was a lot back then. Like,
Yeah.
I went to UIC college for under $8,000 a year or something, or around $9,000. So it was like to pay that for high school, you know, kind of crazy.
Wow.
And when it closed, I think they were at like over 15,000.
Jesus Christ, I didn't realize it got that high.
Dude, all these Catholic schools around here on the south side, I think St. Lawrence is a little more affordable, but some of these other ones are almost $20,000 a year, man.
Yeah.
Do you think it's actually worth it, though?
I mean,
Realistically.
I don't know if it is, man. My kids, I'm an attorney, and my kids are going to go to the public schools around here. Like, I wouldn't be able to afford that. You know, I'm trying to just keep the business running, pay my staff, you know, and
Yeah.
put a roof over my head. But I don't think it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was valuable, and we made some lifelong bonds there. That's you know, and had some great experiences there. But yeah, I don't know if it's worth it. Even college, man. Like even college now, there's so many jobs you can get where you can make like, you know, $75,000-$80,000 a year without being drowning in fucking debt by the time you get out of there. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Because like, they had this dude on the Rogan podcast, and he was talking about some economist or some shit. He runs a hedge fund, and he was saying like, the reason that school is so expensive, or this is his theory, is that the availability of student loans. Like the schools know that these kids can get like $60,000-$70,000, so they hire all sorts of deans, administrative staff. They fucking build up a student center like UIC did for like, you got a fucking lazy river in there. It's like, dude, for real, what is this, Wisconsin Dells? Like, I'm coming here to get.
They have a lazy river in there.
Get the fuck out of
Yes,
here.
dude. When I first went there, they had a bowling alley and a pool hall, and I'm fucking Southside. So like, in between classes, if I had like a morning class and a noon class, I would go shoot pool, and I'd practice those bank shots that were tough to make. So when I got out with my guys over the fucking weekend, I could hustle them a little bit. I was like ready, right? And even the bowling alley and the fucking pool hall were like kind of a lot. But then, and they were old school. They had probably been built with the university back in like the 60s or 70s. But then they built up a new one across the street. It's got a basketball court in there and a fucking pool, lazy river. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. You know what I mean?
A lazy river.
Wow.
Yeah.
That blows my mind that there's a lazy river in a freaking school.
Yeah,
in a college
we had,
school.
we had an empty pool in ours because they didn't want to use it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't fill it with water?
No,
Where the hell was that pool?
I don't know, but I heard stories about it that there was a pool there, but it was never used.
I don't know. It doesn't sound legitimate. It sounds like the elevator pass.
No, there was a pool.
Elevator
There was a
pass.
pool. There was a pool, and nobody ever used it. We
Did
never.
you see a pool?
At St. Joe's.
Yeah.
That's what I heard, that there was a pool in one of those.
I think there was. I want to say it was in the basement somewhere.
Yeah, by like the weight rooms.
Yeah, it was, and they kept it locked all the time because they were worried about liability, like somebody falling in there because they didn't really
full of
have
water.
water in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where all the sins went down.
Maybe, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There might have been some kind of
It was a
reason. I don't know if
fucking
somebody got
confessional.
hurt or there was some fucking shady shit going down in those boots.
You know, those brothers stayed next to the fucking school, so Brother Leo was probably getting down.
They had after school
No,
God
I
bless
shouldn't
his
put
soul.
his name out there.
Yeah, no disrespect to bro.
No, yeah, sorry.
he
Yeah, we
wrestled-
get a little controversial on our podcast too, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
it's a joke.
Yeah,
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 I mean, we're-
yeah. So I don't know if your audience might get upset by some of the things you might say. All right, so
My audience,
Disclaimer.
whatever. And then I'm hoping that a bunch of Judes from Joe's tune into this and fucking
yeah.
talk mad shit over.
like, comment.
Look at these fucking oogles.
What happened to George?
Yeah.
Who's that piece of shit in the back?
How long have you been doing this now?
I've been doing it for a while. So I used to do Breaking Bread with Brian, which I'll still do one here or there. COVID kind of shit on that a little bit too, but I would go to a different restaurant each month, and I'd have a different guest, and we would chat for a while, do a basic podcast first, and do a little food review at the end. We'd order our meal and do a food review. So I was doing that probably, well before COVID, I think since maybe 2017, 2018. And then this podcast, it was supposed to start sooner. So if you look at the banner, I put 2019. That's when I got the idea for the name and the logo and all that shit. But I didn't really start until like 2021. And I felt bad because like I could have been doing this all during COVID and like had guests here. And I was concerned at first too because I didn't know what to expect, how bad it was going to be. And so I just kind of chilled on it. But I think COVID would have been a great time where people just needed to hear conversations and just, you know, because like me, I'll be like cleaning around the house or fucking exercising, I'll have a podcast on or whatever. And I think people could have really used that, Plus,
Yeah.
we're sitting far enough from each other that I don't know if you'd really, it'd be tougher to spread. If we sat here long enough, you'd probably get it. But
I know a lot of people like started doing more social media stuff and more like podcast stuff during COVID. So I mean, we didn't start till later, but
Yeah, just
I know the idea was rolling around before I came on board, but
Yeah.
so
Years, right? We were talking about it. We were kind of spitballing for maybe a year or two. at least.
Yeah, we actually, my brother had a podcast with my cousin, the the Sweats and Steve show, and they were doing that for a while. And then we would watch them, and George and I were kicking around the idea of like, starting it ourselves, but what would we call it and where would we do it? And we just kept spitballing it. And then we eventually brought Woobs on because he knows my brother, and I know Woobs through my brother. And then we needed a tech guy, and we didn't have that. So we were just building it from scratch, and that's when we came up on Hans because he was doing IT stuff at his gig. And then we're like, well, he's probably the best fit to handle all of our audio equipment and all that stuff. And then George opened up his house, and we used Man Cave Studio, as we call it. And we started coming up with the logo, putting in the money for the logo, coming up with the name. I came up with the name. Mm-hmm. And then we started, him and I kind of were playing off of each other with the logo. And then, I just kind of kept building from there. So I think we only have, 8, 9 episodes?
10.
10?
10.
Yeah, 10.
10 episodes. So we've been pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Learning as we go, just kind of like how you are, with the audio, the lighting, the camera, the seating, the topics. That's a real big thing for us, is just trying to figure out what we're going to talk about all the time. And I think now we're at a place where we're trying to collab with like you, and then other podcasters, and then try to get guests on. And we got a couple guests that we're working on, but we're looking to network and connect and meet more people to bring people on our show.
Absolutely.
So.
No, it sounds great. I mean, you guys are doing good so far. You have to start somewhere. You got to have like a concept, a logo. I don't have an intro other than the ones I do myself, but maybe after a while. I work with independent contractors through the website Fiverr, and there's a couple of other ones, like a freelancer, I think it's called, one of them, and then there's like one other one, and there's probably a bunch more out there. But you can get logo design, you can get intros made. One thing I use that for is my topic breakdown. So I had a friend who was kind of helping me with that for a little bit, and he's going to be practicing law here. You might have seen him, Matt Thomason. He was on some of the other episodes. There's been probably 3 of them now. And I was like, I don't want to burden him with that shit. Like, the guy's a lawyer, and it takes a while to do. I'm guessing these people have like better software and shit where they probably just pick up like word recognition, and it's easier for them to break it down. But that's something that's super helpful because it helps with searching online and search engine optimization. Mm-hmm. So you have a website and they see that topic breakdown, or if you're putting it in your YouTube video, as long as you put it in the description, it'll automatically break the video down into chapters. Like, you'll see those little lines on the bottom, and it'll take you to the exact topic at that time, or you can click on it. So I do that. It costs me, my podcasts are fairly long most of the time. They're at least over an hour most of the time. So it's like $20 or something, but that's not bad. I mean, for production cost, I get the topic breakdown, and then you can turn it into tags as well. And then the analytics on YouTube are incredible. Like, it tells you the audience, the breakdown of age. I was a little surprised to see that my audience is mostly male, like 85%, because I have a lot of females on a lot of time, and I guess maybe dudes just like to check in on females, but I would think that some of the topics we're talking about are like domestic violence and different things, and I would think that more females were tuning in for that, but apparently YouTube in general is like a male-dominated viewership, apparently.
Then there's a lot of male abuse out there as well. So
Yeah.
a lot of domestic violence against males.
Yeah.
That's true, actually.
I don't know that at all. I'm just messing around.
Well, Chappelle had a skit in one of his specials where he's like, do you know that it's or maybe it was Joe Rogan. It was one of them. They're like, you know that most of the rape actually occurs to men, and they're like, yeah, by other men. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy to think about, but
Was it on Rogan?
it was. It's like maybe
I think
Rogan or Chappelle.
it's one of
I
them.
don't want to miscredit whoever fucking that was their bit.
I don't know what our audience base is. I think it's a very niche, like
It's
65 and over.
65 and over.
Yeah.
It's an older crowd.
That
definitely.
episode we
It's,
did about osteoporosis really
like,
resonated with a lot of people.
Our audience doesn't listen to like the newer music, definitely, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. If the kind of music that we listen to now is, we're definitely not into that trap.
Our podcast is themed around music, and we don't ever talk about
We rarely talk about
I
it.
was bringing that up the other day.
Because George
didn't
is
I?
like the musically inclined guy, and
Yeah.
like when he was putting it together, he's like, "Oh, we should have a record, and we can have this dope intro." Which, by the way, the feat that you see in our intro is Carlos Castellon.
Remember Carlos Castellon?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool.
He acted it out.
So he
And it was his DJ equipment.
yeah, he came in and we shot the intro with him, and then it's just kind of all musically centered, and I don't think we've ever had a musically centered episode.
I mean, we've talked about Kanye. We've talked about
Yeah.
more controversy, but not about actual music.
yeah.
Yeah, we talk about artists, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Celebrities, but we don't really get.
Yeah, we're kind of more of a gossip column of that era.
You think our podcast is about house music that DJ set up, but no,
No, yeah.
not at all.
It's probably why we catfish a lot of our audience into the show.
Yeah, and then
They're like, oh, DJ equipment. They're going to play some house music. And then they just four fat dudes just talking.
Well, today it's 5.
All right.
I tried to have it better. You see these new advertisements now for like True Classic, fresh, clean teas. Like it hugs your arms and makes them look muscular, but also hides your gut. I'm like,
Right, I seen
I'm
those
seriously
commercials.
thinking about getting some of those.
I was looking at it just the other day. I want one myself.
I got a couple.
Really?
For real?
Yeah.
Do they actually
The
work?
long sleeves are nice, but I haven't tried the short sleeves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
they
like
have
the short
different
sleeves from
ones, too.
Target. This is from Target. These are nice.
That or just fucking work out and fit back in your clothes.
I know, right?
Yeah, but it's easier just to put a shirt on.
Well, yeah, when you're on the go, yeah, like I'm trying to. I got that guy Matt coming on to practice law with me, and we were talking about being accountability partners. I was showing Albert kind of the little like up and coming gym that we were setting up in the basement there. Got a punching bag. And
He's gonna be your accountability buddy.
Yeah, he's in the army, so he's already like he stays in pretty good shape. Like, he's not one of the army dudes that like some of them are just like weekend warriors and they're kind of like fat fucks. They just work, they work their 9 to 5 and they're just doing it as a reservist or whatever. And but he's like nip tuck, tall, slim, fucking maybe I don't know. I haven't seen him with his shirt off in a while, but 6-pack and fucking strong arms and shit. So I'm like, me and him, he's like, hey, we got to get our reps in for Jesus. Got to get our reps in for Jesus,
Wow.
which means you don't have to go hard every day, but get in the minimum.
Yeah.
So like, I need somebody to help me do that because, I'm running a law firm and it's a fucking busy job, man. Because some attorneys don't give out their personal cell phone. I do. So the realtors I work with have my personal cell phone. My clients do sometimes. It's easier just to keep people on the same page. We'll do like a group text and. Dude, I was getting calls today and shit, and like I feel bad I didn't get to get back to the guy. But it's like, dude, this is the only like these 2 short days are all I have to myself to run errands, to get a fucking haircut, whatever I got to do, go visit my family, do stuff like this, which is a passion project. So time flies with this, and
What kind of law?
mostly real estate law. So when I started, I was doing like estate planning, wills, trusts, corporation stuff. But I got so busy with the real estate stuff that, I just got popular in that community because I was out there, like networking a lot, doing stuff like the Breaking Breads. I would have people within the real estate community on. So people see like, oh, that was so-and-so. And then, it kind of snowballed where people were like, oh, can I be on or can I, join your podcast and shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, sure, Most of the time, like, I want to have some people on that have something to offer, like something that they do that has like, it just fuel for the conversation,
Right.
Something that they do. And it's not even just real estate because like I find like a lot of people in their profession will talk about only their profession, and that is very helpful sometimes when you're providing content that's like people would want to see. But like I feel like when you're advertising, sometimes it's best just to like show people who you are, and they're like, oh, if I like you, I'll want to work with you type of thing. If not, then
No.
Yeah.
whatever. But I'm just an ordinary person at the end of the day. I just worked hard to get a degree. I mean, that's pretty much all it is. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I'm guessing we have some sons of immigrants here. I know I am. My dad came from Ireland in the 60s, so
I think we're all
Yeah.
sons of immigrants.
yeah.
Pretty much.
That's our motorcycle chapter.
Sons of
Sons of Immigrants.
Yeah. And then you have like Sons of Trump as like the rival gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a stitching of our dads just laying down brick and shit.
Working in the fields.
My dad would just work on the railroad.
Yeah.
For reals, man, right? My dad was an electrician, so.
Yeah, my dad was an electrician for the railroad, single maintainer, for BNSF for almost 30 years. Well, that's how long his career was before he retired.
Your dad worked for.
Yeah, Union Pacific. He worked
Okay.
there like 25 years.
Good places to work for, good pay, good union benefits and all that.
And I lied. He was working for BNSF, then he worked for Metro.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, you
Same
switch
shit.
around in the business.
it's a train. That's all people know.
Yeah, and I mean, quite honestly, like sometimes when I'm in this game, I'm like, kind of like, how much of yourself do you give away and sacrifice? And in the beginning, I was sacrificing like crazy. My wife and I, we weren't married, and we were together, but I would be out like multiple events per week and all this, and it's like sometimes I wonder, would it have been better to be like my dad and be an electrician? Because like, when the workday is over, you're not bringing work home with you, but like people's expectations weigh on me a lot. Why isn't this done or why isn't that done, or they have questions that seem to be urgent. But and I try to tell people, like, if you have a life or death problem, you're talking to the wrong guy. I'm not a doctor. Like,
Right.
this shit gets sorted out in the ordinary course of business, but people don't seem to understand, and it's kind of crazy. But I was always wondering what it would kind of be like to have like a more honest living. The benefits would be good, the pay is good, but I'm not like, I wouldn't have been saddled with all this school debt and fucking. I didn't have any debt from college, but the law school was expensive as a motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what line of work are you guys all in, George?
I'm an accountant.
You're an accountant? No shit. Oh, like full blown CPA or just with a degree?
No, just I have my associates. You really don't. I mean, I
Registered
deal with
agent with IRS?
yeah. I normally deal with like mom and pop businesses, but
Awesome.
yeah. No, it's I have a large volume of clients. So
Do you have your own firm or?
yeah. So it was. This is actually my mom started as an accountant a long time ago.
No shit.
And I worked with her through the years, but for a long time I was teaching music, and then I went on to I was studying to be a nurse for a while, but she got an aneurysm, so I went back. And
You was
yeah,
gonna
I've
be
been
a
there
nurse?
since. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, I remember you were going to go in the medical field
Yeah.
at first.
Is
yeah.
she-
I
is
went.
she
I went.
living
I
still?
went. huh?
He was gonna be a
Still living?
doctor.
Yeah, she's.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
Yeah. At first I studied medicine. I was a biology major. I was gonna get into that, but it didn't really seem like it was for me. I went into accounting, got my associates, and then after a few years, I kind of just sitting behind a desk really messes with me. So I became a CNA. I was studying nursing. Then my mom got an aneurysm, so I went back. But it's been really a kind of blessing in disguise.
So did
She's
you,
okay.
Did you take over her business or?
She's still working too.
Oh.
Yeah, we're both at it. We're both running it.
So, forgive me for my ignorance. An aneurysm, does it involve like bleeding or?
Yeah,
burst
she had
of blood vessel?
yeah. It was a blood vessel that burst in her brain, and yeah,
She
almost
recovered
died.
like fully.
Yeah, fully. Yeah, it was a blessing. Yeah, it was a miracle.
I guess so, right? Because I always thought like an aneurysm was like you're almost paralyzed or you're fucking like
Yeah.
your brain is not the same.
Yeah, very few people recover from it. There's people that stay kind of like in a vegetative state even.
Yeah.
There's people who become paralyzed and they don't quite recover. They don't gain back certain motor function.
That's
But, yeah,
crazy, man.
She's fine. She's doing all right.
Probably one of those small percent of people that
Yeah.
like survive that
Yeah.
without like any major problems.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do they know if she's like prone to having it again in the future or no?
Well, I mean, they've done scans. She gets tested here and there. She's okay for now. And more, she's dealing with other health issues. That's not such a a worry for the doctors right now. Yeah,
Well, that's
she's
good.
doing all right. She stopped smoking. She's doing all right.
So you work within her like
yeah,
office?
we've been at it for years now.
Where are you guys at?
In Cicero, off Cermak and Laramie, on Laramie.
Okay. Yeah. I know exactly where that's at. So,
Yeah.
what's the name of the firm?
Sandoval's Accounting.
So if anybody needs your accounting out there, Sandoval's Accounting, I can vouch for George. He was always a hard worker, very strong personality, good dude. So I'm sure you carry that over into your business as well.
Yeah, no, we're fairly priced. We like I said, we have a large volume of business clients. We do personal taxes. We do notarized letters. We help with like immigration things. Yeah, we kind of have a nice little broad spectrum of services we offer. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I hope some of my viewers can do that. I work with a lot of Mexican realtors and a lot of people within the Hispanic community in general, not just Mexican community specifically. So if there's people who need stuff with taxes, ITIN, all sorts of stuff, you help out with that.
Yep.
Very good, very good.
Opening businesses, all sorts of stuff.
And you're right there in the community too, right over there on Laramie and Cermak.
Yep.
They've been servicing the community over 30 years.
About 30 years, over 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it actually the location where it's at, it used to be a restaurant. It was my grandmother's restaurant, and there was two kind of, I guess you could say two spaces, but it was all the restaurant space, right? It was joined, and right in the front of that second space, there was a small little office. That's where my mom kicked it off, and after a while, my grandma closed the office, and the landlord there, it's not our building. the landlord kind of split up the 2 spaces, and my mom set up shop permanently there at the one space, and then she just moved right over when they did some remodeling. So we're still there. She's been there for years. Yeah, we've been there for years.
That's awesome to hear, man. It's nice to have that stability. You know, you have the place, and the community knows you. You know, and you have that recognition. You probably have been serving whole families for like a couple of generations.
Oh yeah, we definitely
Grandparents, parents, children.
These there's like I said, there's a lot of mom and pop stores that like shops, mechanics, there's trucking businesses, but a lot
Grocery
of these little
stores,
spots,
restaurants also,
mhm,
so.
restaurants, a lot of these restaurants and grocery stores, they get handed down, and we're still taking care of them. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro. Sure, it's very rewarding just to help people out, make sure, because, I mean, the stuff that he deals with, like, you got to know about what exemptions and you can take and deductions and all this shit, and
Yeah, there's a lot to go in.
how to do it
into
right. Oh, for sure, man. Do you guys keep books there too, or?
Yeah, keep books. We do. We're a one-stop shop for the most part.
That's awesome. And you, how many people are working?
6. We have 5 or 6 in any given time.
So you, your mom, and a support staff.
Yep.
Okay. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
we're running a tight ship, but it's good.
That's
It's
good.
good. So we're getting more and more busy though. So we're thinking we might have to hire more, but we don't know yet. We're kind of working that out.
It's hard to say. Yeah, it's tough. Like, we were getting ready to hire a third full-time assistant, and then with the interest rates going up, the money's more expensive to borrow now, and so it kind of shit on the market. I have about half of the active clients I did from last year, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, I'm still doing all right. It's just, it's tough to find a healthy medium in the business that I'm in, because, like, you're either, like, super, super busy, or you could be really, really slow.
Right.
So I just like to have that healthy medium, because, like, I literally think the last 2 years or 3 years probably aged me older than I needed to be, and, like, you probably have this in common. I mean, probably a few of us do here at this table, but you as an accountant, you do sit a lot, right? Like, I'm in front of the fucking computer a long time, dude. It's changes your physique and everything. Like,
my weight is up and down every year. So like income tax season, I'm sitting down all day almost. Not even that. Like, I get out of work, and I'll bring work home, and I'll keep adding and doing stuff at home, and it's just it takes a toll. Yeah, I don't have time to work out. I gain a whole bunch of weight, and then summer I'm kind of getting slowly back into it, just so my momentum could stop in winter again, because then I gotta get right back into it. Yeah, it sucks.
it fucking sucks, man. I've been a little bit better. See, the thing is, like, for me, I have sleep apnea. I have to wear one of those breathing masks at night. And you too?
Yeah.
Do you wear the full?
This is what
face
it's
one?
like when doves cry.
I know, but let's talk about our bodies breaking down like old men now. But,
Apparently, I have mild sleep apnea.
Dude, it is it's a serious condition that I don't think enough people take seriously, because how it changes your body physically, and the amount of stress it puts on your heart, the amount of brain matter that actually depletes because your brain isn't getting enough oxygen, which can actually come back by having CPAP machine and all that. But I just started mine, 3 weeks ago, and
For real?
and I've had a really good experience with it. I still chuck it in my sleep, and I don't even know, and have to put it back on. But it's been it's been really good for my health overall. Yeah.
do you use the full face one, or
Yeah,
okay?
the whole mask.
I started doing that as well when I first started, because I was a mouth breather. Like, for whatever reason, like, my lower jaw would drop, and I'd be like, I drew on my pillow and shit. And so I started out doing that, and, like, after a while, like, I would get jowls in my face. I could see it. It was literally putting lines in my face. Like, you ever look at Joey Diaz, and when he smiles, you can kind of see the jowls. And I was like, dude, I don't want to look old quick. And then I also saw this dude, there was a couple dudes who were on the Rogan podcast. One wrote a book on sleep. The other one, I think, wrote one on nasal breathing. And apparently it's better for you to do it through your nose, because it's like, it filters out some of the bacteria. It also helps to humidify the air and all this shit. So I tried to switch over to that, and that was really tough for a while, because it's hard to find ones that are good that will stay stable in your nose. But my setup's kind of really crazy, and I found out in, like, 2013. I was in my third year of law school, and I was all kinds of fucked up. And, like, when I started law school, I was a skinny dude. I was, like, not much more than I weighed when I was at Joe. I was like maybe 145, and then by the time I left there, I was 190 pounds, dude.
Shit.
Apparently your body tries to compensate for the lack of sleep with, like, taking in more calories. You don't know when you're full, so I would just fucking eat like a maniac, and I didn't really know. And the weight like at first it was looking good. Like I remember one of these girls that was a friend of mine from law school. We were getting in the elevator one day, and she's like, "Are you on steroids?" And I was like, "No, I just been eating a lot, drinking a lot of beer." And she's like, you know, because my mass was increasing like really quickly, and so it's really tough, man. But to your point, like to get treated, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you guys living right now if it wasn't for getting that treatment. I've almost died a few times in my sleep. I've come very close. Like I'd wake up and go into shock, dude. It's pretty fucking
Holy
scary.
shit.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. Like the room would start spinning, my body temperature elevate. No matter how much I would breathe, it didn't feel like I was being refreshed. It was a very scary feeling. It's almost like suffocating or drowning. And
You're like gasping for air.
well, yeah. Like what? At first, I had an apartment on my own, and I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and you do gasp. You're kind of like
Yeah.
like when those airways
you
are shut
first
for a
wake
while.
up.
When you first wake up. And then another issue I was having is that one night I woke up, my heart was pounding like fucking 180 beats per minute type of thing. Like I was running at max capacity type, like marathon type of shit. And what that was the breathing was so bad that your heart has to compensate to try to get the blood-rich oxygen around your body. So it's beating like a motherfucker, and there's not much blood-rich oxygen there. It's trying to get it to your brain, the whole rest of your body. And I was going in for testing. These fucking doctors, man, they didn't even mention sleep apnea to me. They were checking my heart instead because I was starting to have premature heartbeats, and that was related to the left ventricle of my heart started enlarging from the irregular beating. So to your point, it has all sorts of consequences. The incidence of stroke and heart attack are higher. It messes with your metabolism and your fucking weight and all this. And too many people don't take it seriously. I think, like, you know, I have a few friends that have it, and I don't need the machine, or some people can't tolerate it. Quite honestly, I embraced it because I know that I'd be dead without it, and
Yeah.
you'll get used to it after a while.
I've been pretty good with it. It's up and down, but my score, like they give you that. I don't know if you see it where they give you the score every night.
Yeah,
like,
you know what your
yeah.
apneas are.
Yeah, and so I think when I did the test, and this is embarrassing to admit in front of you guys, but I wasn't breathing like upwards of 75 times a night. So I would stop breathing 75 times
An hour or a night?
a night.
Because mine was 88 per hour. They were saying on
Hour?
average more than once a minute my airways were closing during my
Oh,
sleep. It's
shit.
severe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yours is not that bad,
Well,
luckily, but it's still
she
pretty
said
bad.
it was severe.
That is severe
Yeah,
still, yeah.
yeah. So when I started taking it, I mean, same as you, I would wake up like gasping for air. I could hear my heart beating in my sleep. I could hear
Like through your neck, like up on into your head or
I
something?
could hear it in my ears, like I could
Yeah.
hear the whooshing, and I would wake up gasping for air. My mouth would like slide open. I look like a dead dog. My tongue is sticking out of me and all that stuff. But it was yeah. And my wife would like look, and she goes, "You look like you're dying, or like you're dead. I have to nudge you to make sure you're alive." I'm like, "Yeah." I'd wake up, I'd have like massive headaches or
Yeah.
stuff like that. So it contributes. Like what if you don't know, you're looking at me funny, but
I'm listening.
what happens is you're laid back, and depending on how, not everybody has it. Even you could be really heavy and have it. You could be really thin and have it. But the airways in your throat are constructed in a certain way where the air stops coming through.
It gets kind of pinched.
Yeah. so
Sometimes the
you're not-
tongue will slip back, or just somewhere
Yeah.
else in there it closes up.
Yeah, and so it just the air won't get through, and the oxygen doesn't flow. What ends up happening is you have poor quality of sleep. To Brian's point, you start making poor decisions. You start eating.
You have brain fog during the daytime?
Yeah, your brain is. I was sleeping in my car when I was like, just going doing my job.
Mm-hmm.
I would just take naps in my car at random because I needed the rest. Now, since I've had this, the first night I had it, and I had a really good experience with it, dude, I got up right away and I started working out, and I just started going hard. And so, in the 3 weeks that I've had, I've been working out more consistently than I have ever without it over the course that I knew that I had this. And so, diabetes, heart stroke, or any type of stroke, all that stuff starts linking up. And so, I was telling the guys this, like some of our friends that aren't on the podcast, we're at an age now that if you don't start taking care of the things
Those little
right
things.
now, like you're right, we're at the precipice of if you don't start handling it now, you're in a world of hurt 4 or 5 years from now. You
For
know,
sure,
and
'cause-
and then it's 40, and then it's there, and then you don't do it then, and then 50, and then you're lucky if you start getting past like deeper into the age. You know, like because you could really fuck yourself up.
Apparently, right at 40 and beyond is when the body really starts to deteriorate.
Yeah, that'll
And
be good times.
I look at the body kind of like a brand new car, right? Like you're younger, it's fucking, you don't have to worry about it as much, but then that maintenance becomes really important once you get about 40, 50,000 miles on there, if you want to compare them to yours, like,
Yeah.
gotta keep
Those
up
oil
with that
changes.
shit. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you got, I mean, the amount of sleep. I try not to drink anymore. I did smoke a lot. I wouldn't say I smoked a lot of pot, but I smoked regularly pot. Like comparatively to my friends, I couldn't even touch them. But I was smoking enough to where I that played a factor into my apnea. You get the munchies, you start eating, you're putting on the
Yeah.
weight. Then you go to sleep and you're not breathing, and then
Yeah.
you're putting on the weight, and it was this vicious cycle that was happening.
And the marijuana does help to relax the airways more too, just like alcohol. You're probably
Yeah.
just fucking sitting there closing up like crazy.
Yeah, and so that's all that was taken into account. So no, I don't smoke. I smoke occasionally, but nothing like on the regular. And then I try not to drink. I'll get an occasional drink, but really focusing on my eating habits and trying to work out more is the best way to do it. And sleep, get enough sleep, at least 6 to 8 hours. And
Yeah.
that's really gonna change.
I think I could really use 8. I always try to make sure I get at least 7. Sometimes it's 6, depending on what's going on. When I first started in this business, I would stay up like sometimes almost all night. Like I'd stay up to like 3, 4 in the morning. I'd sleep for like maybe 3 hours and then have to get up and clean up and be at a closing or something by 9 a.m. But yeah, like it's to your point about substances. Like I really cut down on the alcohol, really cut down, and I would do a sober October. I was telling Albert, I did this last year. I did a sober October from October all the way up until February. I had not a drink, and alcohol does interfere with your sleep. And I noticed it now how much how significant it is, even from just a small amount of alcohol. Because like when I tapered off, I would just do like, I make sure I kept it at a certain level or I would whatever. And certain nights, like for example, we went out to dinner one night recently. This was actually just last week, I think it was, or the week before. And we had a nice meal. And this is one of my good friends. Shout out to Gloria Uola. I had maybe like 2 beers with dinner. And she's like, oh, just come back to my place for a shot. And I had my friend with me, and we had another friend of ours. So we're like, yeah, I wanted my friend to see her house. She got a baller crib. And so we went over there, and she busted out the Don Julio 70, which is like my fucking favorite. I think I had like 3 or 4 small shots. She had these little small glasses, and like I could tell the difference the next day when I woke up. I'm like, that quality of sleep wasn't as good. Like as I got into the day, I was like, I could feel that drag. And then another thing is marijuana. Like Mary Jane is like my fucking main thing. Like they say with Earth, Wind, and Fire and shit, like Rick James, right? Like I think like, there's been a big deal made out of it for many years in this country when alcohol has done more damage to people's lives than marijuana ever will.
Yeah.
But I heard on Rogan podcast, they were saying that apparently THC interferes with REM sleep. So like if you used to dream before and you notice that you're really not anymore, like you might at first when you're smoking pot, or if you don't do it that much, you'll get them. But like I was smoking fairly steadily, and I wouldn't go crazy with my smoking. I would like, fucking 2-3 hits with a cup of coffee in the fucking morning. The weed gets you up, and then the coffee brings you back down to earth. And it's like, one of my friends was telling me the medical dosage they recommend is like 2-3 puffs. So like you don't, some of these people are smoking whole blunts at dawn. It's like, dude, are you out of your mind? Like how
I
fucking
don't know how
high
people
are you
do
gonna
that.
Yeah, I never. Even at my worst, I could never smoke a whole blunt.
No, I could never either. But
I wouldn't enjoy the feeling. I never enjoyed the feeling getting stuck. You know what
I
I'm
don't
talking
like
about?
it.
Yeah.
I've been stuck and I never enjoyed
I
it.
hate that.
Just
So, like,
sinking into your couch.
yeah, like I like edibles here and
Can't
there.
do edibles.
I love edibles.
I ate a whole cookie once, and I was freaking out.
You gotta pace yourself.
I know, but I didn't pace myself that
Yeah,
night. Like
that's
I brought it back from Vegas, and I'm in my apartment, and I'm like, this cookie's not doing shit. So I kept eating.
That's where it gets. That's where the edibles get you when you
Before
think it's not doing
I
shit.
I nodded out for a second, and I woke up like,
Carlos loud as shit.
Carlos actually called me. He called me. He was freaking out.
I was freaking out. I was in
told
the
him-
shower. I had the curtain open. So like I thought I was gonna die. It was the worst experience I
Told
had
him to
ever
just go
had.
outside and
I
grab
was
onto the
freaking out.
grass as hard as you
Nah,
can.
never again. I was like, that's it. That's the last.
It's funny.
time
My buddy
I'm
was
gonna
telling
do
me.
it.
I had a buddy of mine that was telling me a story similar to that when I was in the hospital, because he called me up when I was in the hospital, and he was telling me that he had an edible, and he was like, same situation where he was like, oh, this ain't doing shit, and he just kept fucking popping it, and then finally just all came in waves.
Yeah,
He said he was just freaking out.
it was
That's
the
too
worst
much.
experience. Horrible.
I've never had a bad experience.
But when you stopped smoking, did you start dreaming again?
I don't know because I hadn't stopped smoking for long enough, but I did stop just last week. So
Okay.
I was out of town for 4th of July, and some of the neighbors up there smoke, so we all got that in common. And so I was like, let me stop and see, because when I got my sleep mask, right, because at first I did the full face, then I was doing nasal, and I had this shitty one. It was rubber. It didn't really stay in place well. I had a lot of leaks. But now I'm using the ResMed AirFit Pro P10 or whatever the fuck. And that one is stiffer. It stays in place better. So that one I started having the dreams again, even though I did smoke a bit. But then for there was like a 2-week stretch or 3-week stretch, I didn't have any dreams. And I'm like, the thing is, like, you have dreams when you're in REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement. And so, like, if you can't get to that state, you just don't have the dream. So I wouldn't feel as refreshed when I woke up. Another thing that doesn't help is, I'm only 38 right now, so I'm on the old side of young, but I have to wake up to pee at night, sometimes once or twice. And, you know what I mean? So it's like that fucking interferes too. If I can get a night where it's straight through, that's always my best sleep. And I don't get those that often. And another, these doctors, they could probably give me a pill for that. It's like, dude, but how much shit do I really want to start putting in my body?
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then you got to get a pill to counteract the other pill.
Yeah.
And another pill to counteract.
This one also causes high blood pressure, and now I'm on high blood pressure. I was like, what the fuck?
I'm not going to lie, all this talk about sleep apnea is kind of scaring me because, when I mentioned I was in the hospital, I actually had a stroke about 2 years ago.
Did you? Sorry to hear that.
Lost all motor function on my left side. They said that the cause was either mild sleep apnea or COVID, long COVID, that is, because apparently I had caught it. They don't know for sure, but they see scarring on my chest saying that there was COVID.
Yeah.
So I haven't really gone back about the sleep apnea stuff. But now I'm hearing you guys talk about it, and I'm just kind of thinking in my mind, I'm like, maybe I should probably look into this a little bit more before I get a stroke, because the stroke was my wake-up call, saying that I was just treating my body like shit.
Your stroke was my wake-up call.
Shit.
Yeah, when I was like, oh shit, I can't have that. Like, I can't go down. Too many people depend on me at home. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
So it's been a blessing for me, man. But real quick, when you stop smoking, the dreams come back hard.
Yeah, you get really vivid.
I had vivid
even lucid
dreams. Like it was intense. Like it was good. It was a good intense. Like it was better than any high, realistically speaking.
My question is
really
this:
refreshed, yeah. What's it?
So like when you say you smoke, was it like, are you smoking all day kind of thing, like here and there throughout the day, or just once in the morning and then you?
A lot of the time it'd be early in the morning. I would,
okay.
Like when I'm on my way
it.
to like fucking, I'll, like right after I get my coffee and I'm not like driving anymore.
Is that when you guys?
I would fucking, I would have, I'd get my coffee or whatever, and then I'd fucking, take a couple puffs outside and fucking, I'd get to the, get in early or whatever I'm doing that morning if I'm at the house, so, do it early. And then sometimes that would be the only time during the day. Other times maybe I'd do it like at lunch, or I would, most of the time it was either just in the morning or after work would be over. But the later you do it at night, the more likely it is to interfere with your sleep.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Some people go to bed blasted, and you'll pass out, but the quality of sleep is not that great because your body's trying to process all that THC, same way it does with alcohol. And that's another thing, too, if you notice, like, your most intense highs, if you smoke, will be the ones earlier in the day, because as the day goes on, your body knows how to process it better. Like, oh, THC, I know what to do with this, and then it just filters it out more.
Yeah.
But you were going to say something, Carlos?
No, I was just going to say, I can't do it anymore. Like, well, I can, but not like that. It's
moderation.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything in moderation.
Everything needs moderation.
I can't do it. It's just.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be probably more of a once-in-a-while thing. We'll see right now. I've been out about a week, but this week was a bad week for me, which maybe we'll touch on a little bit more as the podcast goes on. But, yeah, I'll see how I feel. I do want to just see, like, maybe a good month or so, till the shit's fully out of my system to see if the dreams are returning and how they are.
I feel like heroin might be a better option. Just to kind of come down and relax.
Get that high out of the way real quick, and then, hey, you're good. Yeah. Good to go.
Hopefully it doesn't do anything damaging to my
I don't know, brother.
No long-term damage, hopefully.
No, I'm just...
the way heroin addicts not out and shit, like, that would be probably really bad with sleep apnea.
Well, if I put the mask on before I do
Carlos at the doorstep of your business over here.
Hey, man.
Hey, man.
the best REM sleep I
We have a
had.
needle exchange around here, bro.
I do like that Sober October idea, though.
It rhymes, and You know what I mean?
I mean, it's not even that. Just taking a period.
Especially, right?
Yeah.
Like Sober October, you take a break off, like it shows your discipline. A lot of people are in it together, and like I started making up names for like every month. It was like Sober October, No Booze November, Don't Drink December, Just Say No January, Forget About It February, you know, whatever. So I had
No
one,
masturbation March. It doesn't rhyme, but
I thought that's what No November was for.
No Jerk January.
Oh, is that what that is?
You're on your own on that one.
I don't even
Triple
think
N.
that's healthy, man. Like anybody taking a masturbation break, if that's the only thing, yeah.
If that's what you're looking forward to,
moderation
your
is
whole
probably
year.
still good with the masturbation. All I'm saying is
Imagine just Xing off the just 29 more days. 29 more days.
your prison
Just getting
calendar.
sweatier and sweatier as you're just.
Your X's are more like jagged.
yeah.
I don't think it's good to have all that shit built up in your system.
No,
though.
it's
I
not.
think you need to empty out your nuts and like start fresh. You know what I mean?
I think we were talking about that on our last episode, where it was just like, you know, sometimes you just need to let a nut out, and then that'll probably just lower the amount of like incidences that are going on in the world.
Well, I think it could cause like
shooters?
prostate inflammation or like backup in the system. It's not good for like the vessels
No.
and shit down there. I think if you just let it build up for a really long time.
I think that's why they neuter dogs. Because,
To calm them down.
yeah.
Yeah.
So otherwise they can develop
I think
things.
that just cuts out testosterone, though, no? Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which apparently is actually pretty bad for dogs. Like they say that it makes them lethargic. It fucking apparently it helps their
dog's
joints
lazy.
break down more quickly.
Oh, yeah?
So they Dr. Andrew Huberman, I think he's a doctor because he's a PhD. He said after like he felt so bad about getting his dog's nuts clipped that like the dog was so lethargic that he started giving him like small doses of
put him back on?
testosterone and he like it turned around like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like he's like, dude, he had energy again. He was immediately, like after we started the treatment, he was starting to do better. So, like cats are different because they piss and like, or I don't know if it's piss or jizz, but they spray around the house to kind of like mark their territory and get their pheromones out,
Yeah,
and that attracts all the fucking, you know, alley cat hoes that are fucking around or whatever.
I used to have a bunch of cats that lived by my apartment, and they were always fucking.
Yeah.
Like there was a bunch of them. You ever see It's Always Fun? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I never watched that. No.
No. Oh,
Wow.
Well, then the
You gotta
jokes-
check it out.
Yeah, but yeah, I had a ton of cats just always like fucking right near my kitchen window.
That's
And
wild.
yeah, they all just the lady next door too would feed them, and they'd eat and they'd fuck and then they'd like,
Sounds like the life. Eat, fuck, and go to sleep.
Yeah,
right there.
and then dip out afterward too. Like,
But we didn't
got
have
him
any
for
rats.
18 years. 18 years, you know.
We didn't have any rats though, so it was like a mutual agreement. You could fuck and kill the rats, and nobody would mess with it.
Yeah, you had like the Pussycat Gang will fuck up the rats, like keep
Yeah,
them
it
out.
was awesome. So,
My cat just tries to find the nearest shirt and just fucks it.
Fucks
A shirt?
a shirt.
Yes, he will find anything that's not. He especially likes felt. He he likes felt. He likes soft cottons. So if he finds it, and I start hearing him. It took me a while to actually realize that what he was actually doing, because I used to see him do it to a blanket all the time, and I didn't realize what he was doing until, for whatever reason, I decided to
What
Google
kind of noises is he making?
Like So one day I decided to Google. Mind you, he's in the middle of doing this business. I decided to Google what does it look like when cats fuck. So when I did, I see it and I'm looking at him like fucking cochino.
Was it anything like when turtles fuck?
No. Turtles fucking is just
It's
hysterical.
hilarious. You ever seen
I
that?
haven't seen or heard turtles fucking before.
They moan.
It's a treat.
It's
just
shit.
it's
watch it.
an audible moan. Yeah. The bigger they are, the bassier it gets.
It's gonna be interesting sex too, because like, first of all, I'm guessing they're gonna be taking it nice and slow, but it already takes a female a long time anyway. So it's like, if you're going slow, like how long is it gonna take till she gets her nut? You know what I mean? Am I right?
that's awful.
Get that turtle nut, bust that shell real good.
Yeah.
Ooh, bring that friggin' big old bubble butt fucking shell over here, girl.
Cowabunga. Getting in that cowabunga hole.
You're awfully quiet.
I'm just taking it in. I mean, you guys are catching up.
Well, we caught up like 20 minutes ago. What about you? What health issues do you have?
I don't. I mean, like Brian said, I'm over 40, so I've been trying to take care of my
Maintain.
body.
You've been
for a
on
while.
it already.
Yeah,
That's good.
I've been on it. So, and I go to the gym every day. I just started that regimen back up.
Good for you,
So
brother.
after
I'm
this,
jealous.
I'm hitting the
You
gym
know.
after this.
I mean, you look healthy, so
Yeah. I mean, high blood pressure runs in my family, diabetes.
You don't got any of that.
No, I don't got any of that. Asthma, I don't have that.
Exercise really helps with that.
My dad's like that. Like he's like, I mean, we're all kind of overweight, but he's overweight, and he was healthy as an ox, other than like some gastrointestinal issues, but healthy, no diabetes, no high blood pressure. He's good.
Change up the diet, you know.
Yeah, you gotta take
it
care
really
of yourself.
it really does start with changing the diet.
Yeah.
But
That's the worst part.
I know that is the hardest part.
Well,
is
you don't have to
changing the diet.
stop eating. Like carne asada, I love that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of like the 8 tacos, I might eat like 4.
Yeah, moderation, like
Yeah.
you were
Moderation.
saying.
Moderation.
So you said you were doing real estate law
Yeah.
in the market. What are you seeing?
Well, like last year at this time, I had probably about 100, or actually, I probably had around 120 active clients. I think I'm at about maybe like 50 right now.
Damn.
So the whole market has been crazy for a long time. So like, interest rates were low, and COVID caused people to panic. So the money was very cheap to borrow with the low interest rate. So people were buying like fucking gangbusters. The problem is, the areas that they're trying to buy in, there wasn't a lot of inventory available. So like, most people in these areas, like where I grew up, people are looking for homes that are under $300,000. They're not trying to buy a McMansion. They're looking for something like 220, 230, 250, and there wasn't a lot of them available because the market had been sold pretty steadily for many years. Like after the last crash, the building of new homes apparently slowed down a lot because there wasn't really money in it. So a lot of these developers like, fuck this, we'll kind of keep it on a small scale operation. So we were underdeveloped for a long time, and we're not caught up from it. The government is now trying to give incentives to builders to build more and expand out like the suburbs and different areas around these cities. But like, I mean, you can see how it is in these cities here, back of the yards, the neighborhoods like over here, you know, East Clearing, like people have these homes, they don't want to let them go. You know, some of these people just got their first homes over these last 10 years, and it's like they're not going anywhere. They don't want to sell them. The areas are congested, you know, like you see that Berwyn Cicero too, like good luck finding a parking spot and fucking. So the, you know, the inventory's been low, but it is shifting now. So like when I had never seen a seller's market until recently. So I'm in this game 6 years. I started May 2016, where I had my own office. I had worked for another law firm briefly in real estate law before I opened up my own shop. And for a while it was buyer's market. Like they would get full closing cost credits, so they would get at least 3%, and on an FHA deal you can get a little bit more. So they would be getting like so much closing cost credit covered, and then they would have like getting repairs made and all this shit. And like when it shifted to the seller's market, boy did the realtors like start fucking the buyers. It was like bidding over asking price, which was kind of the buyer's fault too. They would bid over asking price, and then later if it underappraised, because the properties that were out there they're looking at were like not yet catching up to that level of what's selling in the market, so it would underappraise. Then the sellers would get pissed off. So what you would start seeing would be like they would put like gap coverage clauses in the contracts. They'd say like, if it underappraises, you have to cover up to an additional 10 grand out of the pocket, otherwise you sacrifice your deposit. And then the deposits were non-refundable. They were telling people to waive inspections, so like you don't even really know what's wrong with the fucking house. You know, there could be some underlying shit. And then they were like not non-refundable deposits, 30-day closings, and it's like, dude, we were in one of the busiest real estate markets in our fucking history, and it's like 30-day closing is like unrealistic. It's like you have all these lenders that are working to their max with all these people behind the scenes. Somehow they were getting it done pretty frequently, but it was all sorts of shit like that where, you know, they was against the buyer. They were getting like totally fucked, and people were accepting that for a while. But now it's shifted back over. So that the interest rates I've been seeing lately are around 6%, give or take. And so sometimes they're higher than that. If you're an ITIN, if you have an ITIN loan, you don't have a social security number.
That's worse.
You're like 7 or over 7. You might be between 7 and 8 right now because it's a higher risk. If you end up getting deported, they have a house here that the bank is now going to own. And so they're considered riskier buyers of people who have ITINs. And so like they pay a little bit higher. But just for regular folks, you still have to have, even to get like a 6 or around a 6, you have to have very good credit. So it is slowed down the market a bit, but now the sellers have to be coming back to fucking the real world now. So a lot of the sellers that were like, but the realtors are telling me, oh, you know, I don't have as many buyers, but I'm starting to get more listings. So people are trying to sell. The problem for a long time was the sellers wanted to sell, but they didn't even. They were looking in these areas and they couldn't get a home there because there wasn't a lot of inventory available. So there was a lot. Those are like all the factors that I can think of off the top of my head. But that's kind of where we're at, and you know, where we're at now. But you know, I'm in a good place, and I got another guy coming on, so we're gonna start expanding back out. I think now that the real estate sold down a little bit, and I mean we're still pretty busy. Like the weird part about it is, although I have like about half the clients I did from last year at this time. And it's weird because I was like the week of the 4th of July. Normally I had a ton of fucking closings, and I only had a few this year. But in any event, I still feel like I'm just as busy. I'm like the clients that I have kind of like have a lot of, you know, neediness, I guess, or they have some demand where they need to be really on top of it and all that. But so yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. We'll see where it goes because, you know, what we're seeing right now with interest rates and everything like that is probably the result of like over 20 years of fucking government spending. You know what I mean? Like, what did we see when we were younger? We had 2 wars that started while we were in high school that cost over $1 trillion each probably. Then you had multi-trillion dollar, trillion with a T, bailouts of these big banks and companies during the housing crash. Yep. Then you have a fucking global pandemic, right? And they're bailing, you know, or they're
storm.
Yeah, they're giving out tons of money like it's going out of style, and finally the fucking inflation started hitting. And so they start raising interest rates, and who does that hurt? Like people like us or working people, because like, we're the ones that need to borrow. The rich people don't give a fuck. Like they pay cash or whatever. They don't give a shit what the interest rate is. But so it's hurting working people now because people that were able to afford a home for like $350,000 now can only do like $320 or $300 because the monthly payment goes up that much higher with every percentage change in the interest rate. Yeah. So it's interesting times. We'll see where it goes. Like no market stays up forever. It has to fluctuate. Like my dad always told me, he was like, Brian, the arrow in a market doesn't always stay up. He's like, eventually it has to come down.
That's true.
So we just hope that, you know, people ask me like, oh, are we in a bubble? And I saw a really good little thing. One of my realtor friends, Marina Colazzo, put out this thing, like 2 reasons why we're not in a bubble. One of them is the quality of loans is better. Like, if you ever watch like The Big Short, they talk about like ninja loans, no income, no job, no assets. We're nowhere near that. So most of the people that have loans now have been vetted and they have, you know, sufficient income and things like that and good jobs where they can afford it. So I don't think we're worried about like a complete meltdown where like the global economy is on the line. And there was another reason, I can't remember why, but I got to go back and either ask her to send me that or try to find it on her Facebook. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We'll see where it all goes. But
Do you think we're gonna have a food shortage?
who knows? I mean, they say that our ground soil and our farmland has been like used like an old prostitute or a plow mule or something. It's broken down. Like there's only so long you can keep on, you know, using it over and over again. Even when you like, what farmers will do is like say they have a big square of land or a rectangle. They'll
go in
harvest
sections.
this quarter or this section will be this year, and then they'll do the next one, and they'll keep on going. But after a while, the nutrient base within that soil, it gets depleted. It's not as strong, and you know there could be issues with that down the line. But I think they're saying that's like an issue that could be within the next like 50, 60 years. What does scare me, or scare is a strong word, but at least concern me as a matter of national security, is like Bill Gates is one of the largest private owners of farmland in America. He just bought in like Wyoming or one of the Dakotas over 2,000 acres, 2,200 or something close to that, más o menos. But he I saw a Yahoo news article about that, and I was like, this guy's like one of those evil genius motherfuckers. You have a few of them, like, you know what I mean? Like Jeff Bezos, that motherfucker, dude, he's sending rockets into space. It's like, why don't you cure baldness, motherfucker? Like, you got baller bucks, so it doesn't matter if you're fucking bald. But how about the guys right now, like me, motherfucker? Can you put some money into that? Like, no disrespect, Jeff Bezos, please cure baldness or whatever. But my point is just, these evil geniuses like Bill Gates, like, we're going to allow one person to buy up that much fucking farmland? He owns a lot of it. Right. And then you got this company like BlackRock or Blackstone, and Vanguard's another one where they're buying up large amounts of real estate.
For sure.
That's what I was going to ask about. All these investment companies that just scoop up all the houses, and now they're trying to rent them too.
Yeah, they try to rent them back to people.
They don't think millennials want houses, apparently.
Well,
they know they can't afford them. That's why.
Right, but they don't want legacies for their kids.
I work in food distribution.
Yeah.
So I like, you know, I talk to a lot of guys who deliver food and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's like huge warehouses, like freezer warehouses, that the big stores get their product from, right? So like back when the pandemic was happening, we were running out of like food that was
In
at the
those?
store, right? But now they're seeing where those warehouses at, they're bare.
Damn.
Well,
what do you
this
think
group can
explains
only
it?
benefit from a lack of food being there.
like you said, there's I believe that we will see some type of food shortage. You know, where it gets processed, where it gets stored, then it comes to like the store level for us. You know, I think there is going to be a shortage on it.
Well, you know, we will probably have to start learning, you know, like our grandparents, they have their own little gardens and shit and
Yeah.
things like that, and just, you know, maybe learn how to, you know, hunt and, you know, process meat, or if you know somebody, like, where we go in Wisconsin, it's like, you kill a deer or two, and that might be enough to get you through the whole winter, you know, and just, you have a place that we bring it down the street, some dude, you know, and he'll process it for you or something.
Do you think
Yeah.
you could kill a deer if it got to that?
I mean, shooting one, not a problem. When I was out in Wisconsin as a kid, my dad, he grew up on a farm, so it was weird because my grandfather was a carpenter but also a farmer, so he did different masonry work and different carpentering work, but he also ran the farm and they would slaughter their own pigs and their own things, and they would, you know, like cattle or whatever the fuck they had, and so I come from a long line of people, and they would fish as well. So they would fish, and my dad came to this country loving to do that stuff. So that's why he'd like to go to Wisconsin a lot, because you could do it. He'd go up there and he'd hunt. He'd go up there and he'd fish. Now, me personally, like, I wouldn't want to process it myself. Like, I was fishing with my uncle one time in Wisconsin, and he caught a fish, and the way to kill it was he literally bashed its fucking head in with a fucking rock. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's probably more peaceful ways to do it than that, but
No, there isn't. I come to finding out there isn't any
and
other
they're
way to do
slippery
it.
as fuck. You gotta hold them. It's a very violent act. And then like with the deer, like you have to like hang them up and like drain their blood and do all these things. Like that part I wouldn't want to do, but as far as shooting them, I could do it. I've killed animals before. You know, like we had some invasive stuff that was getting in the house, and I had to shoot those before. One time my dad told me, he's like, we hadn't been in there in a while, and you know we were still working on the place. So there was places where animals can get in. He got on the back porch and he was like fucking trying to turn on the electric, and he heard some hissing. It was a fucking like mother raccoon with babies there and shit like that. So it's like sometimes you gotta fucking, you're in between a rock and a hard place, you know. But
I had to get an opossum out of my ex's basement once.
they can be aggressive once you corner them and shit like that.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I was scared shitless,
He
but I
sent
did.
me the photo when it was happening.
Yeah, this dude had
You
a
kill it, or
had
you
one
bring in
eye.
animal control.
No. I was able to kind of capture it. I kind of coaxed it with a banana at first, but I had like a hamper and one of those laundry baskets, and I grabbed the laundry basket. He was sat up on a. I had this big mirror that I never used. It was leaning against like a wall that was never finished, and he was on top of it. So I kind of was able to kind of scoop him with the basket and get him in the hamper.
Basket
and once he
on
was in
top
there,
and like
yeah,
hard surface
kinda,
underneath
yeah.
to carry them out.
yeah, and once he was in the hamper, he was fine. I just kind of dumped him out.
Fucking possum eviction over there. Not only you're an ugly wire ass looking motherfucker with that nasty tail, but you're getting thrown out too.
Could he have called you for representation?
What, for the eviction?
Yeah, you do that.
Fuck, man, a possum, like that might be an expensive one. Most of these motherfuckers getting evicted acting like opossums anyway. Broke as a joke, you know what I mean?
Oh damn.
How about that?
But yeah, no, I mean, who knows what we'll see with like food shortages. I mean, I don't know. I would think they kind of have like meat processing down to a science here, because they probably just like, you know.
Well, you want to know what else I've also heard, that the global warming's like fucking with the cows and shit.
Yeah.
You know. So,
And the cows are fucking with the global warming too.
yeah.
The methane,
Right?
Yeah,
It's
when
like a
there's large
vicious
parts, like,
cycle.
oh yeah, they're farting like methane
Yeah.
gas up into the fucking atmosphere and shit.
So they're
They
saying
gotta feed them seaweed or something like that.
really.
So
Yeah,
they
it
fart.
supposedly helps.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't know
'cause
what the answer would
grass
be
is,
to that.
like burned.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think that's why you're seeing more plant-based meat products coming into play.
Yeah, that's why they're
that
doing
was
that,
the
and
beginning of prepping
vertical
for all this
farming
shit.
and all
Yeah,
this.
Like I think
Soylent Green.
we're gonna have to start getting used to having those Beyond Meats and shit.
Yeah.
I've heard that some of the oils they can contain though might be like increased cancer risk. So it's like fuck, you know what I mean?
You're
So-
damned
I mean,
if you do,
exactly.
and damned if you don't. There's
Well, I
just
mean,
no
like
way-
the
no easy
process
way out.
shit,
Yeah.
for sure. Like the process stuff, yeah, you're gonna deal with like Beyond Meat or whatever. Like that's all still processed. So
Right.
you still got to be looking at your ingredients. Sure, it might be vegetable based, but I mean, like, sure, they have like vegetables is the first ingredient, and then there's like 12 lines of like
Sanctum
long,
and all
long
this
line
stuff.
words.
that you
ending
can't
in min-
pronounce, phosphorus. That sounds like something fucking Senholtz talked
I
about.
thought it
in
wasn't
fucking
supposed to.
chemistry class at St. Joe's.
That's a dot.
That's a dot.
That's a dot.
I
Brian.
thought
You remember that?
Oh, the red dot if you got in trouble or something.
Yeah, that's a dot.
That's
He
a
was
dot.
very disciplined.
I remember that.
He was very disciplined, that fucking guy. But yeah, I mean, I heard they're actually working on ways to like grow synthetic like actual meat, where it would be like meat tissue. It's just like lab grown or something.
It's meat
That's
transitioning
crazy.
into Beyond
That sounds
Meat.
like cancer.
I don't know. I mean, they're saying that with the Beyond Meat that like some of the oils are contained within those are just they're more likely to cause you cancer because they do trials on or like their trial type of stuff on rats and they can see like the incidence of cancer rates were higher in the rats where they're feeding them shit like that. And I don't have a study to cite to on that. It's just I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I hear shit like that a lot. But so don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's fully true or what studies support that. We're just sitting here having a conversation, bullshitting or whatever.
Rice and beans, baby. That's how it's gonna be. Rice
Right.
and beans.
That's right.
We're okay with it.
I'm
Yeah.
alright with it. Rice and beans. That's what it is. A little bit of
Yeah, I
salad
mean,
to
if they could
clear it up.
if they could grow synthetic meat safely, like or like what would be basically actual meat, except for just it's synthetic, I guess, because it's grown. But and they might be able to maybe like nutrient enrich it a little bit. Like I was born on like a meat and potatoes diet. My dad was from Ireland. Dude, they loved fucking ham, eggs, bacon in the morning, like especially because you'd be getting out there on construction, you needed that fucking fuel. And so like for me, it's like wired in my DNA, dude. I don't know if I could go with a life without meat now, dude. I love
Same.
burger meat. I love steak. I love fucking chicken, pork, like salmon. You know what I mean? Like I and another thing is like for a lot of people who are vegetarian, I have friends that are like, there's not a lot of bioavailable protein in plants. Like you really have to figure out where you're gonna get your protein from. So
You got to
for
eat a
me,
lot of it.
a fucking
yeah,
ton of it.
yeah.
Or you have to just supplement with like powder and shit like that, and you gotta try to find like a vegan fucking powder, which they have out there, I think. But
I thought I was gonna have a hard time when I was like, I didn't really go on a diet, but like I curbed, the red meat. I thought I would have a hard time because I would eat red meat like every day, piece of steak, whatever. But once you get in a routine, your body takes over. You get used to it.
do you eat red meat now, or you were just taking
It's
a break?
very little now that I eat it. Like I ate it over the holiday, and I probably haven't eaten since. Everything's like chicken, vegetables.
Yeah.
And it seems like tough, but your body, you'll get used to it.
I love chicken though.
I've learned to fall in love with salmon.
Salmon's so
Salmon.
good.
Salmon
delicious.
is
Oh.
delicious.
Cooked right, it's so buttery with all those omega-3s in there. It's fucking good.
Yeah, if you cook it right, man, like
Yeah.
that's the go-to, and it's heart healthy too.
Big time.
Yeah, it's really good.
I just got back from a vacation and like that was basically my entire diet out there was just nothing but salmon.
It felt
It
good
was-
too,
it
right?
was just-
After
yeah,
that?
it was just salmon bakes, salmon, grilled salmon, just salmon everything. I didn't even get tired of it. And if it wasn't salmon, it was halibut or
Yeah, fish in general is good.
halibut or cod.
Cod.
So
Cod.
Fish,
I love
chicken,
all that, yeah.
vegetables. That's where it should be at.
yeah,
And we could just be done with the cows.
true.
Dude, I had if you guys ever happen to be out in Oak Brook, there's a place out there called Seasons 52. Has anybody ever eaten there?
No.
It's not crazy. It's like the atmosphere's very nice and shit's expensive in Oak Brook, but it's pretty reasonably priced. And they're part of like I think like a larger umbrella of companies. It might be like Let Us Entertain You or something like that. But in any event, they pride themselves on like healthy food at a reasonable price. And like even when you get dessert, it's like smaller portions or whatever. They got a Chilean sea bass there that is fucking incredible, dude. They put this like sweet and like sour sauce on it, and it's not too salty either because I don't remember having to drink like a gallon of water when I leave there. And they put it on a bed of like mushrooms, wild rice, and like maybe some like sugar snaps, which I'm not huge on. But whatever, I'll eat them. That fucker is delicious. If you ever happen to go out there, or maybe after
Seasons 52.
we were talking about getting a bite to eat after. I really wish I could because there's some places. There's a new Italian restaurant over here in the neighborhood. I know the owner through just he's really involved in the business. He's in there. He greets you. Ciao Ragazzi, fucking incredible. Their salmon there is pretty good. They have a pork chop that's like this fucking thick and really good. All sorts of good, healthy vegetable choices with their meals. One place I would love to take you guys, my favorite place right now, and I'll show you some pictures of food there before we leave, is Crapple Steakhouse. That's a place we definitely got to go to. It's at 111th in Ridgeland, in Worth, Illinois, and it's a south side. They don't hold
Yeah.
over the coals. The prices are good. I just had the salmon there the other night when I was there, and everything there is fucking good. You point out like anything on the menu, you just want to try something, it's fucking good.
They need to have more healthy fast food options.
Yeah.
Like a healthy version of not a McDonald's obviously, but like if you could take that idea and bring a healthy, like a health food,
And
like
what-
I don't see why it wouldn't be done.
I agree. Like, what's so hard about that? Like, to have a grill set up like a Zaka Tacos, where you have like an open flame grill, and just throw a like piece of lean meat on there, or a chop, or something. Like, what's so hard about that?
Yeah,
It's not that expensive, right? Like, what are they feeding us? Like, if McDonald's is more expensive than it ever has been. I remember I was in there, my mom wanted some fries or something. It was like over $3. I'm like, what, for some fucking potatoes? That shit's dirt
It's
cheap.
about getting money,
Yeah.
getting cheap food, making cheap food, and then
Just-
making a profit.
but the production
profit,
cost has
right.
got to be up there too, because I mean I'm sure Albert would attest to it. Is like to the gas prices at one point as high as they were,
Well,
to
now,
bring
yeah.
transport all that stuff, and then
Yeah,
just the
definitely.
operating costs are probably going up too for a lot of that shit. So
Well, and one of the things that drove costs during COVID was that the workers at the meatpacking plants they're right next to each other, and
Oh, they were catching it.
They're getting COVID, so
Yeah.
it's slowing down production. Then we see the transportation costs, and like, what a whole mind fuck this has been. Like,
how fragile we are.
yeah.
very
Like,
fragile. Our systems are
Topple an entire fucking global economy.
pretty much. I mean, plus like mentally, it's really taking its toll on people. I don't know
Oh, yeah.
if it seems like it to you guys, but like, just in traffic or in general, I feel people like have a little bit more of an edge to them now that
Oh,
it's
yeah.
over. And that's why I
Yeah.
always try to be like super nice to people, and just they're acknowledging and respectful of them, because I got no beef with the average guy or whatever, but yeah, I mean, me personally, like, I've talked about it a lot on the podcast, like, people can believe what they want to believe, but I don't think this was just a bat out of a cave that wasn't fucked with. Like, I mean,
They make that up from Contagion, that movie. You seen Contagion?
I have not. I saw like Patient Zero or whatever.
No, if you watch Contagion, that's basically like how we played out. It was a bat took a shit in a pig's meal. They slaughtered the pig. They took it to a hotel or a casino where the chef cooked the pig. He gave
And
it
then
to
it started.
Yeah, he gave it to Gwyneth Paltrow, who was cheating on Matt Damon.
Oh,
And
that
then-
cheating bitch. Got
Yeah.
fucking fat.
And then her and her son got sick. And Matt Damon and his daughter didn't get sick, so she paid for her sins. And then it was just spread from there. Her and the Asian guy she was messing with, they went to the airport and spread from there.
Damn.
And then that's how Contagion happened.
How old is that movie? At least 10 years old.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
2013.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting because like Pfizer, Moderna, a lot of them, they didn't really have the cost that you would normally have as a medical. You could go over there, Hans. What's going on?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
My alarm started going off.
I mean, it's whatever. No problem at all. I was just like, "Are you all right, dude? You getting a crazy call over there or something?"
No. My alarm went off. Sorry about that.
No worries. But as far as how much money these pharmaceutical companies made, like normally you would have to have like a sales force that would go out to doctors' offices and like try to say, hey, use this, and they'd have the cute girl come over there and fucking like try to like get them to like go out for dinner and try to take them like get them to fucking recommend their shit. They didn't have that. We paid for all this with our taxpayer dollars, so there's like the costs weren't that high. And in the first like year or two of the vaccine being out, or like we're still in that stage now, but like first year and a half, I think they said Pfizer and Moderna had each made upward of $60 billion.
Crazy.
That is a lot of money, but to me, it's not enough to like, money to make where that would be an incentive to really fuck up the whole global like economy and people in general. So I was wondering, is this a test run for something bigger? Is this part of the bio warfare program that China like runs through their military? What is this? Because there's too much shit that's going on afterward, with the population control in terms of like curbs on civil liberties and all that. Like, is this a trial run for something bigger? They want to see how we react, how much freedoms they can take away, how long they can do it for, and then the prices going up afterward. Like, they talk about the shipping. It's like, hey, we were the ones that like invented global logistics. Like, did we just forget how to ship shit for a while? Like, what the fuck's the problem? Like, people don't want to work. I'm like, I'm sure if you paid these motherfuckers enough, you'd still make a profit and get them out there on the docks and bring the shit in. So it's like, you start wondering about that. The increased prices, like, are we being fucked with here? You know what I mean? And
Did you hear about that that tanker coming from Asia? There's like a small canal that they all travel through.
And they got stopped.
Yeah,
got
it went
stuck
sideways.
sideways?
But they said that whatever 2 days or 3 days of it being stuck there was
To get it moved
was
properly.
weeks of the docks being behind,
Backed
like
up.
7 weeks. Yeah,
it's fucking wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how did it get that
The
way?
what's the supply chain is fucking fragile.
yeah.
Anything
It
gets
is
backed up
very,
because
yeah.
even with like candy, right? That like your Halloween candy that's been stored since like fucking February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And if that doesn't get there and it's right time, then these kids ain't having candy for Halloween
Yeah.
this year. So like you take that example and you put it to something like I don't know whatever the fuck else we're using, and if that slows down or it doesn't get that shipment doesn't get made, and the next ship stops and the next ship stops because this one's blocked off,
Yeah.
the whole fucking thing's fucked up.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
domino effect.
Yeah.
I remember long before COVID even was even in the radar. There was an issue between like gaming and like crypto, because crypto relied a lot on GPUs to mine crypto coins or whatever, right? So because that was growing in popularity, they were buying up all the graphics cards. All those guys were buying up all those graphics cards.
There's a shortage of
Yeah, and then there became a shortage of graphics cards, and then there was always this question like, why is there always a shortage? Like, it can't just because of this, but it made you realize like how fragile the supply chain it really is. Because then when they started buying it all up, producers or manufacturers apparently sell ahead of time before they even have it in inventory. So you realize that that's a really stupid system to put in place, because then now all these guys are buying it up, and then you have more additional sales, and now everyone's just waiting on all this stuff to come through. So
With the PS5s, there was like people
Well,
waiting.
that's a lot of cars are still
cars
don't,
are
don't
destroyed,
yet
yeah.
don't
Cars.
even have computer chips in them. Because, but that comes back to with the meat packing plant, right? If these guys are catching COVID in the plant and they can't produce the conductors or the computer chip in time, now you just got to manufacture the car and tell them to come back later for the chip, and you're not going to have all the bells and whistles that you had before.
I really wish
But-
we just had cars like back in the day. You turn the fucking key and you go to A to B. Like, dude, we have
Right.
supercomputers in our hand. I don't know if I really need that shit on my dashboard now. Seriously. Like, oh, well, we have all these new things in the braking system. Like, give me something that stops halfway decent. Stop driving like a fucking
I don't
idiot.
need a screen to tell me that there's someone in front of me.
Yeah, right?
We're going to self-automation, man.
Really?
yeah, it's,
Everything's self-automated.
yeah, we've been inching
we
our way to that.
Yeah, working for a big tech company, I won't say who, but you see everything going that way. And it's everything is automated.
I mean, me working in the computer industry, I see it even that.
Yeah, what we're on the cusp of, like, we're it's gonna be crazy.
Tesla just sold its first those trucks.
Self-driving?
Yeah,
Yeah, like in
that's like
like
that was in the last month or two or something like that.
self-driving trucks, Teslas
Yeah.
being able to drive themselves. I think we're waiting on approval for that.
They're like 250 grand, no?
Yeah, but eventually once that
Trucks
starts,
like for you and I, or you mean like semi-trucks?
Semi trucks.
yeah,
Yeah,
to
they're
deliver.
getting into logistics now, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were trying to get their crash ratings down pretty low, I think. And, they say there was somebody on the Rogan podcast who was talking about, he was saying, like, the ripple effect of replacing, like, 3 million truck drivers nationwide. He's like, all those people, like, in restaurants and gas stations along those routes would see their business, like, cut way down if it was just a bunch of automatic driving trucks and shit.
Oh.
It's
All
a
the-
domino effect.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
And another thing that on this same topic is like manufacturing in America. I think we saw after COVID that was a national security issue as well. It's like, dude, everything that we fucking make, and it's not just what the Chinese make, it's our companies that make it there.
Yeah.
Like
Outsourcing.
medicine, the masks, all that shit. Like they were saying for a while, the Chinese government was telling Trump, like, dude, if you want these masks to leave the 3M companies, like for us to put them on the boats or on the planes, you need to shut the fuck up about the origin of the coronavirus. And so like I feel like there's a need here, to kind of rebuild that, because I think what it is like the strongest countries economically are usually ones that have the strongest middle classes. But here, I think they feel like we have too much power, which or the middle class had too much power. So like we start signing all these free trade agreements right before we go to Joe's in like the late 90s under Clinton. There was a Republican Congress at the time, so I'm not saying it's a Democrat or Republican thing, but they allowed the greenback dollar to not be loyal anymore. It can go wherever the fuck it wants for the cheapest possible slave labor, whatever the fuck they can get, and we suffer as a result. And then we're stuck with like, you can't get the chips for the cars and this and that. And now Biden's kind of scrambling to try to start making chips here. And then you got fucking China salivating over Taiwan because they have the world's biggest chip manufacturer in Taiwan. So you know, if they're going to try to pull a Russia and fucking invade there, and it's like this really complicated shit that we kind of need to think about as a country, as a people. Like, you know, how dependent are we going to be on other people to like make our medicine and shit? You know,
Education
we
system
went from a manufacturing country during like World War I, World War II, supporting the boys, building tanks and all that. We do it on our own, right? A lady with the sleeve up her arm, rolling up the
all
sleeve,
hands
all
on
that.
deck.
To we need other people to do this for us, and we want it now, and that's how we became.
It's all about
like,
those
we're
profits.
we're consuming things now. We're not manufacturing
Service-based
things.
economy, yeah.
Yeah, so
Starbucks.
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Whatever. We're all providing service. You're an accountant. I'm an attorney. We're not making like, you know, tires here. I'm providing a service.
Yeah.
But I wonder what we'll see. Like I feel like we probably need maybe like a grassroots like rebuilding of manufacturing and maybe some better rules as to how we deal with it, because China's on an unfair system. Like their government like subsidizes the fuck out of their companies, and they're also basically part of the company.
Right.
That's
They're
what
a
always
business partner, you know,
that's what always got me about the whole like, you know, China's taking away our jobs like argument. Like, and every president I hear is always talking about how they're going to bring the jobs back over here, or every politician I should say in general is always talking about how they're bringing jobs back over here from China, especially from China, right? And I'm like, to your point, like you said, you know, China subsidizes the crap out of all these companies, so that way they can produce cheaper over there.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do over here. But no, none of our companies are willing to do that. So,
Right. There's no the GDP. It's really low.
Well, yeah, because then who the fuck's gonna work making tires or semiconductors for $12.50 an hour, not get health insurance, and then you're trying to buy a home,
right,
and support your family, and you're not putting ends meat on there. You gotta give them health insurance. Those guys don't have that over there in other countries, right? But the only way to actually have a grassroots movement, you gotta have to blow the whole fucking thing up, and you have to have like a Ragnarok situation in order to start all over again. And the odds of that happening are fucking slim to none.
I feel like Bernie was trying to get into that, and people like all these politicians and people involved with, you know, like lobbying and all these big corporate companies. You know, they didn't want that.
I kind of feel like with like magma is just kind of just building up underneath. Like
Yeah,
there's frustration on everybody's side.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I see. You know, from the guys who support Trump to the guys who don't support Trump. It's the guys who are Democrats, guys who are Republicans, left, right. A lot of it is the same frustrations. If you just really just kind of just get through the minutia of all the noise, it's the same frustrations. They're frustrated about the economy. They're frustrated about not making any money. They're frustrated about not having any health care, not having any education. Everybody's frustrated about the same shit. But because we're on two different sides of like kind of like a Hegelian idea of what should be the fix of it, nobody wants to work with each other.
Yeah.
So
It's too much the bipartisan shit.
We often get criticized because we go into politics a little bit in the podcast, and here it is on another podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it can be. I mean, we're not saying like party side. Like I'm kind of more of like what I would call maybe like a civil libertarian, or at least a moderate. Like I'm like socially liberal, like free as you can fucking be, but like fiscally, I don't think we should be spending the money that we do either at the state level or the federal level. But you know, going forward into the future, you know, what is our direction going to be as a country? Because like to come, I guess, back full circle to guys like Bill Gates buying up the farmland, and then and other people too. It's probably not just him, other companies and trusts and corporations, but also you know, the real estate, because we talked about earlier, like it's not. I don't know that millennials don't want to own stuff, although maybe it's like more convenient not to sometimes. They're talking about this at a global level. So you have like I think it's like the International Monetary Fund, and there's another like World Economic Council or some bullshit, and they're basically just saying like there's this guy his last name's like Klaus or something. They talk about the Great Reset, where it's basically like we go from people owning everything to like big companies like that, and they're like, you'll own nothing and you'll like it.
Yeah,
And
I heard about that.
another scary thing is like in China they have social credit scores. So if you get like caught saying something about the government or doing something that's like they consider to be counter to the interests of the Chinese Communist Party, you get a lower social credit score. Then you try to come in, Brian Tierney's bar or his restaurant, and sorry, your social credit score is not high enough to get in here, or you can't shop here, your money's no good here, limiting your freedom. They're talking about as part of that Great Reset and not owning anything, to be basically making like a digital programmable currency, kind of like cryptocurrency, where if you fuck up, your employer can like limit what you can do with that money. You can't use it on a vacation here. You can't do this, or the government can do that too. And it's like that's the kind of scary shit we're talking about. Like one of my things that I do on these podcasts is to try to like promote awareness for that. Is like what we saw during COVID, like about the shutdowns and shit. Like what did we get out of that? People's lives were ruined. Their fucking businesses were ruined. They're depressed still to this day. Mass shootings are going up now again, and of course, people were away, so you didn't really have that during COVID. But we're seeing the frustration out there, and I don't want to go through it again, like, because like I was saying, if this is a trial run for the next one that's going to come out of the fucking the bat cave or the fucking lab or whatever, like what are we going to do then? Like, are you going to let them shut us down for fucking months at a time, 6 months at a time?
Right before the pandemic kicked off, right, that was coming up in Congress, like, because the credit score, the 3 credit unions, those are privately run.
Right.
So they wanted to make those. They're trying to get those to be government run now. Because one of the factors was like they're saying, okay, so you have minority, right, people who are trying to get loans, trying to get credit, right, but maybe when they were younger they fell off with their credit, right. Now they went to school, they got good jobs, they're able to get a loan, buy a home, get a car loan, but they're not able to because they're going off of their old history, right. So now a lot of lobbyists were saying that that's being prejudiced. And they wanted to change it. Supposedly, it's going to be coming around again, where the government's going to get involved with that now. I don't know. I don't know if it'll be for the good, for the bad. Like, a little bit of what you said.
Usually, most of the time,
I don't think it'll get approved.
Well, even if it did, most of the time when government gets involved in shit, it never goes well. And we can see that, like, foreign policy is a huge one. Like, if you look back at, like, 60 years or more of foreign policy, anytime we get involved in these other countries, it almost never goes well, especially with, like, the recent withdrawal from Afghanistan and shit. So, yeah, government involvement, I don't know. I'm a capitalist. I'm all for it. I just feel like at what point do capitalist interests outweigh that of national security? Because if we don't have a good economy here, we don't have fucking good jobs, like, then what do we do,
Yeah.
But
This all reminds me of 1984.
I've never read that book. I really
No?
want to read that.
really
I almost
good.
hate to admit it on the podcast.
This all feels really Orwellian, man. Really dystopian,
It's on its way.
right?
Yeah, it feels like it. It feels like it's slowly creeping to that. But I don't think I hope we don't have social credit scores. I really don't, because
we got to fight against that shit,
yeah,
dude. Petitions,
I feel like
rallies.
our podcast is gonna put us in the hole real quick. But no, but like the other thing I don't like when people start bashing America though too, because like it could be so much worse in another country, like you said, China.
If China takes over, it will.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like,
Just you want the whole world living like our citizens do.
You have that ability to sit here and talk about that right
Yeah.
now.
Which evil do you want?
Right, exactly.
That's why I love doing this.
You
for
have,
the West.
yeah, you have to be able to speak your mind. And those people, like, I know certain people, though, like they blame America for all these other problems, but like you have that freedom, you have that privilege right now because you're here. Yeah, it's not great by any means, but yeah, I just feel like too many people underappreciate it as well.
Yeah, I'm like probably maybe more proud than I ever have been to be an American. And you talk to anybody who's been in the service, and they'll tell you, like, dude, to breathe that fucking free air when you get back here off of that fucking plane, dude, it's incredible. And the alternative is probably worse, if somebody else takes over. And China's trying to do it, man. Like, they have I think it's called the China 2049 plan. So, like, by mid-century, they do want to be number one.
They're going hard. And if
they're on the path to do it right now if we don't fucking change things.
And if they do take over Taiwan, I think that's going to be a big deal. Because, like you said, with the conductors, with them being one of the biggest manufacturers, they're big on taking other people's intellectual properties from a technology standpoint,
Yes.
and they make it for cheaper. They like to spy and all that stuff.
They've been caught a couple
yeah,
times already.
Yeah,
They don't.
so-
A big thing too is that they don't let their people like go against it. They don't let
Yeah.
their voices
You fall
make.
in line.
Yeah, you fall in line, and that's all there is.
Yeah.
They're gonna do what they want,
But
and
I'll play devil's advocate here with you too, Brian, in this. And I know that we talked about it prior to the podcast about like more diversity is good in including diverse people, right?
Yeah.
Right. But do you think to some extent diversity is our our weakness too? Because you look at China and like they're all Chinese and they all fall in line and you see that growing power. Whereas like that diversity, as good as it can be, can also like nobody can get along.
yeah, it causes
There's friction. And there's
polarity.
always battling, and things get stymied or they get blocked up, and we don't move forward with a lot of things. Like, because regardless, I mean, we do have a lot of diversity within our politics. It could be better for sure, but I think that those differences stop a lot of things from moving forward. Whereas, like somewhere in China, you just see them keep progressing and progressing, and they're a threat to the point where people are worried about them. So I don't like that's like where the devil.
As they
like,
should be,
that's like the
man.
double-edged sword of how much diversity really helps and how much, you know what I mean? Like obviously we're never going to be one unity thing, but
Yeah.
To the extent that diversity, I believe personally, we probably need unity and diversity more than ever before. Like my thing is like it's not us versus us; it's
Right.
us versus them. Like the powers that be,
Yes,
the fucking ultra rich,
absolutely.
the global corporations that sell us out, the fucking politicians that these companies are in their fucking pocket or vice versa. I don't know how the saying works, but yeah, they're in each other's pockets or in bed together. And then if you compare us, like historically speaking, diversity wasn't a problem so much in the past. We've always had diversity, like especially during World War II. You had Chinese immigrants here and Irish immigrants building the fucking railroads, Mexican immigrants. You had fucking Germans, whatever. Like the thing is they say like you have to assimilate, right? Well, I think the problem is for certain communities like the African American community, they were either segregated by government policy or segregated by private, like just like this association doesn't allow African Americans to buy here, or they would just say I'm not selling to like African Americans or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
I think historically speaking, we've had diversity before and it has worked out. I just feel like people need to be allowed the chance to assimilate, and whatever that means. I think like what I witnessed here is beautiful. Like I'm part of, I work with the Hispanic community a lot, and like I get to be part of these events and see the culture, and they maintain that very well. But that I think is part and due to it really feels like to me that this time is like the time of the Mexican people, their immigration wave. We had the Irish and German and Italians and all that shit in the past, and now it is the time of the Mexican people, I believe. But I think it can work against us in some ways, but mostly because of like what we see with social media and the stoking of the flames of that and the division.
Yeah.
And it's not just people doing it to each other here. Like you see all sorts of instances of Russia or China like stoking people, like putting out bots and doing this dumbass shit.
They're using social media as a weapon to kind of keep people not unifying and
Weaponized. Yeah. So I think if we can kind of get past that, and I don't know, man. It's a tough thing because sometimes you think you're doomed when you see how people interact with each other, and it makes me sad because like I always try to be respectful to people, and and sometimes you don't get it back, but and I think what we really need to focus on things like improving mental health and also having a set of values in place. So like there's this book out there. One of these guys gave it to me. He's a financial planner, and he's like, it's called Smart Women Finish Rich. And he's like, if you feel like you're not masculine enough when you read that, he's like, just cover up the A and the N on there, and smart men finish rich. But the first thing they talk about is having a set of values in place. Like, what is it that your goals are? What is it your values? Is it like, increasing wealth for your family so that your lot is better while you're alive and you have something to leave them? Is it financial independence for yourself where you don't have to work forever and have your stream of income? Is it giving back to the community, being charitable? And they go on and like, what are your values? Like, I feel like in the past we had some things to unite around, and I feel like we kind of are like this ship at sea without a real good moral compass of like, what is it that our values are? Like, they don't like you say in the Pledge of Allegiance and shit, like shit that we used to take for granted. I still got that fucking thing memorized. I haven't said it in a while because we're not in school doing that every morning anymore. But there used to be things that united us more, and now it's kind of like this diversity in that sense, has become a weakness. And then it's like people used to have thicker skin. You'd be able to crack a joke, and it hurt some people's feelings. But you got to have a balance of that mental health too. And it's like, you know what, this world's not going to be a fucking soft place. And if you ever have to deal with like dictatorship or government taking over here, it's diversity. They give a fuck about diversity. And you can see what they do. Like it's documented in the media that there's labor camps over there in fucking China where they keep like Muslims there.
Uyghur Muslims.
Yeah, the Uyghur Muslims that are fucking in these camps where they like chemically castrate them. They cut off their hair and their beards, and they fucking, you know what I mean? They give them stuff that like literally basically castrates them so they can't recreate and all that. It's like, that's what they do with diversity there. So I feel like we need it here to be strong. Like I don't know if some of the generations have had a chance to like make a bond with each other where it's like maybe we could have racial unity because we have to face a larger fucking enemy. We really got to unite against it. And if it ever comes down to a global conflict with China, like you need about the whole world to unite against them. You really do.
Well, like as far as the foundation that you're talking about with having someone like a moral compass or where we stand on, I think the value system from where we grew up to where it's at now has kind of depleted. We just got to saying we went to Catholic grade schools, right? You went to public high school. I'm sure you had, you said the Pledge of Allegiance and all that stuff, right?
Yes,
and all that stuff, and like there was a sense of community even with the Catholic community. And again, we crack jokes about all that shit, but like even though it's a severely flawed and we can get into the jokes later about it, but that I crack some from time to time, but
we're all jaded by it.
Yeah, exactly. But it felt like that was your foundation, at least, that's where your moral compass came into play. I know that when we joke about like religious things, you get quiet and you kind of fade back because you don't want to touch it, right?
Yeah, I don't touch it.
You won't touch it, but like other, like I think to your point though, we don't have that anymore. That's kind of like gone. You don't have these kids are going to church or anything like that. And I'm not saying people need to go to church, but that where do you find it if you're not doing that? And I think that's what's missing right now in terms of
I don't go to church either regularly.
Right, but it's already instilled in you.
Yeah.
It's already instilled in you because you were raised that way.
Yeah.
The kids coming up now don't have anything that they're being instilled with, and so that value system isn't there for them.
I agree, and like in public schools, it's like, if you mention the word God, this and that, like that's a bad word.
Get reprimanded. You get reprimanded.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You might get put on administrative leave or whatever. And I'm not saying. So I think to your point, and my belief is that I think our values will have to come separately from religion, and I believe in the freedom to practice whatever the fuck religion you want. You want to worship like Slender Man or the fucking Satan or whatever the fuck you want. You're free, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't give a shit. I was raised Catholic. I'm not like a practicing Catholic. My cousin had this really cool term. She calls it like, oh, we're Christmas Catholics. Like, you'll see us there.
Yeah.
Fucking, the nice Christmas Mass or Easter or whatever. Yeah. But, I believe that like if we're gonna thrive as a nation going forward, that we do have to come up with some kind of independent values. Like, and a lot of the framework is there, man. Freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the freedom to defend yourself, the freedom to like not get the government coming to your house and searching your shit without reasonable cause or documentation and shit like that. Like, we just got away from that. I don't know if we teach that to our kids enough, and if they even know how to value it, because like the difference between our generation and the newer generations, they've learned how to socialize kind of in reverse. Like, when we grew up, we all just fucking, the cell phones, I had pagers and shit when we were like getting into Joe's and shit. You had pagers, and then you had a Nokia phone with like a green text background and like blue characters or whatever the fuck. Like, we didn't have sexting, we didn't have bullying that never ended. Even when you get home, they're still getting fucking pinged into the night hours and shit. So this is a confused generation, and I truly believe that cell phones are drugs. Because the dopamine response you get to it is similar to what gambling addicts get when they're fucking sitting there in the machine. That's why they can't stop putting the money in. And so probably should have a warning label on there. But probably should be classes dealing with it. My wife and I told my wife, I'm like, when we start having kids, like, I don't want them having a fucking smartphone until they're fucking in their teenage years or later. Like, I'd give them a flip phone if they need to call, and we can check in on them and shit. But like, or whatever.
They're gonna get made fun of.
Or well, whatever. I mean, and it's tough though. But
that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna get bullied because if you give them a flip phone, and all their friends got iPhones, They're just gonna. I mean, shit. You give them a good Android phone right now, and they still say you ain't got no fucking money.
The thing is, I don't think people take that kind of the effect of social media as serious as they should. Like, because I've seen it in schools where they teach what's called digital citizenship, where they say, you know, be aware of what you say on social media, be aware of what you consume on social media. But you know, nobody ever really takes it seriously because they think like, oh, what's a meme gonna do? What's a meme gonna do to my mental state or whatever, right? I remember having to get away from social media before the podcast. I got away from it for like 2 years because it was just the vitriol that I just kept seeing in my feed on Facebook all the time. Was just getting too much to the point where it was just like I didn't want to hear it anymore. I didn't want to listen to it anymore. I'm getting into arguments with like family, like friends and everything about the dumbest shit. And so it was just like, I just needed to step away from it. And I did it for like almost about 2 years again until we started this podcast. And then I just started getting back into it. But I just kind of shielded myself away from just all the bullshit. I'm like, this is just work. I'm only coming on here for work. I'm not trying to come on here to work and have fun. And I'm not trying to come on here for anybody's argument's sake. So,
Yeah.
I think the problem for some people is that they have a life where it's just like they don't have much outside of like there's no goals, or they're really like they do their 9 to 5, they come home to work, and then that they have social media to kind of keep
They
them
see what everybody else is
entertained.
doing.
Or whatever,
Yeah.
and that is tough too, because you know, I'll even admit, I mean, there's times where I see people and they're like fucking out there just not having to worry about work, or they're out there traveling, and I'm like, fuck, man, I wish I could be doing that, and it's tough.
Yeah.
But for me, I used to spend a lot of time on social media, but the way that I would do it would be like, I was friends with a lot of realtors because of the industry I'm in, and so I would like, oh, you know, congrats on like fucking you're, you know, hitting that many sales, or that deal you just closed or whatever. But then I realized, I'm like, fuck, man, I'm spending so much time doing it, like the work's not getting done.
right.
And you have to really learn, like, by trial and error and adjustment, like how much time are you going to spend with that phone. Like, there was times where I used to try to like respond almost instantly or pick up the phone every time it rang, and I'm just, I can't do that anymore because I realized,
And that was part of the reason why I just needed to step away from it, because it just it started becoming a tick. Like every time I felt my phone vibrate, I had to check it, and I had to like start flipping through Facebook or social, or whatever the hell it might be, like YouTube, whatever it might be. I just had to keep just flicking it. It came to a point again where I just had to stay away from it, and I couldn't do it anymore because
it was just really time consuming for me. So I'm like,
it is a time suck. It really is.
I just like kind of post and ghost a lot of the time now. I'll just like I'll put out what I want to put out there. I'll mention the podcast, or I'll do that, and I just get away from it, because otherwise you can spend a fuck ton of time on there.
There's a lot of ass out there, man.
Say words, son. I didn't have Instagram for the longest time. I'm like, oh, Instagram hoes, that shit is for real, son.
Seriously,
There's a lot of
I just barely got on. Well, I had an Instagram account for like 5 years or something like that, but I didn't really get active until, again, the podcast. And then again, that's again my feed, just ass and titties all over the place. I'm just like, all right.
I mean, it is the fucking bomb. You used to have to pay good money for that shit.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have to go to the strip club. I see it
Exactly.
on
I
fucking
can
Instagram.
just- I can
like,
just
you know,
check
like,
it out on
man,
Instagram.
that
It's all
ass,
good.
The ass I see there is better than half the ass I'm going to see at polecat.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. No disrespect to polecats, because they do have pretty quality lineup. All over the place. They're
Diamonds.
Bring them out. Bring them out. Bring them out. Bring them out.
Oh, you're going like, really early with that music.
We still go there, man.
Do you?
I go there with realtors sometimes and shit. You know, once in a while. Like some of this is like intrigue for the girls. They've never been in there. They want to see what it's like or whatever. But it's a good time. You just everything in moderation, like we said, especially because that shit can be far from moderation for your bank account if you go there too often.
Right, but at least you can subscribe to an OnlyFans for $7.99 a month and get what you need and
There's
interact with
so many
them.
OnlyFans though. You want to be for every one of those girls you're spending. You could be spending.
I'm
You're
just
on a
saying,
budget?
you could cancel any time, and I don't got to spend $100. You know, that's where it's at.
One-time deal, and then we're done.
Yeah.
It's not
Dude.
diamonds are forever.
Polecat's fucking marketing is really, really on point though. If you guys drive down 294 or somewhere maybe
Yeah.
55, you'll see. Have you seen the billboards like we're fighting inflation, and they say $10 Tuesdays, and they show like the box above hitting like inflation, and it says like $10 Tuesdays, or like we're beating inflation or something like that. Like I was fucking dying. I'm like, I mean, first of all, it's always been $10 Tuesdays, but you know, since as far back as I can remember. But that shit's hysterical that they've used that to market. Like, hey, it's still affordable here if you want to come in.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But
It's I haven't been there in a while, actually. We've been talking about it because we really need guests. Like, that's our biggest thing, and we've been thinking about like having a stripper on and getting into the life of a stripper, and like,
Yeah.
You know.
Picking her brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I like it because it's real. Because some
Yeah.
people would shy away from that. It's like people have.
Albert can't go to that one though.
Why can't I go to that one?
I don't know. You might have some restrictions.
Yes.
I'll just make. We're just teasing. Don't cancel us.
No, I won't.
No.
No restrictions though.
I mean, it's got to be an interesting life because there's all sorts of shit there. There are the legit strippers that are like just paying their way through college or just supporting a kid because they're beautiful and they can make good money real quick and get the fuck out of there. But
Yeah, 100%. But I wanted to ask, what was the grossest thing you've seen at a strip club?
Yeah.
they're gross.
Because I have a story. I want to see if what I've seen is grosser.
The grossest thing
As a stripper, you want to know if
No,
you've seen
no,
what
no.
they've seen
What-
as a stripper?
What's the grossest thing that he's seen at a strip club?
Oh, okay.
I want to ask the stripper that as well, but that's one of my questions.
I thought you had a
mean-
secret life as a stripper at some point. You're
No.
like,
I saw a dude getting jerked off in the back one time.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, like whatever.
It was Carlos.
It was Carlos.
It was Carlos.
And I gravitated to OnlyFans.
you go to
'cause
Joe's?
that cost me a lot of money.
But I mean, I don't know, fucking like, I don't know about the grossest thing I've seen because you can hit me with yours. One thing I did notice is that some of the smaller little seedy places around the neighborhood that are not quite like the level of polecats, they don't have mirrors in their bathrooms, so you don't have to see how fucking disgusting you are to yourself. You're like, what is my life coming to? You don't have the mirror of shame that you have to look into. Like, you wash your hands and you get the fuck out of there, or you don't wash them at all and you move.
I
but-
just spent
A Jack's
$200.
pizza and a fucking.
Dude, I love Jack's Pizza, bro. Nice thin crust fucking cheese. I can't get the toppings anymore because if you look at the sodium on those ones, it's like enough to kill
The
you. or
cheese is
whatever.
enough sodium alone.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is, they're so easy to eat. You could fucking murder one yourself.
What is
no
it? I
problem.
think it's All Stars offers Jack's Pizza,
Yeah, that was.
and then like
downstairs.
they have chairs like
That's just
these
good
that you're
business,
getting- yeah, and you're getting like it's like
Cut costs where you need
You
to.
don't even have to wait till you get home to make it. You got it right there.
and it's,
You know what I
it's
mean?
no the place is no bigger than this.
Yeah,
True,
no,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a
it's
small
no bigger
spot.
than this spot. Have you been to All Stars?
I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like around this. It's they do
Never
the lights.
been inside.
Matter of
That's the
fact,
one
I
that
think
doesn't
this-
have the mirrors. That's one of them.
Well,
Anyway. There's
matter-
another place.
Matter of
over-
fact, I think this is
First
All
time for
Stars.
everything.
I think this is All Stars.
Right?
we got podcast every day, All Stars. Right?
So wait,
Yeah.
that pole over there is not for support?
You're you're
It's
office,
supporting everybody's fucking living. It's hard out there. They gotta pay to have bills.
That's how you're fighting
Strippers got
inflation.
bills too, dog.
your office gives me very much like those detective noir vibe.
Yeah, like
Like some
PI.
yeah, some dame's gonna come walking in here with a crime, and you got to go out there and solve it.
That would be a cool job.
That's what this place gives me.
Yeah.
And like
Well,
your
then the security
peer.
camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I do want to keep an eye on the place, and you know, this place has been many things. It used to be like a convenience store, or like a little restaurant before, I think, and then just before I got it, it was like a daycare center. I had to literally fucking put like 2-3 coats of paint on the wall when I repainted it because it was like it looked like Ronald McDonald fucking landing here had red and yellow stripes all across the
Nice.
wall.
Oh, God.
But in any event, you said nastiest thing you've seen in a strip club.
Oh, I saw my buddy. He was getting lap dance with a stripper, and she was letting him finger her, and he fucking licked his fingers, man.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He fucking sucked those fingers right at as soon as like if almost like he was putting his hands like in like ketchup and just like
Come on, man.
he went for it.
sick.
And I'm getting the lap dance and I'm looking like in just fucking disgust. I couldn't enjoy my lap dance.
He's just looking at it like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I need to go home.
Yeah, at that time I was sharing blunts with that guy.
Was it at
Oh,
least
God.
a $10 Tuesday?
And I don't care how much it was. You don't.
It ain't worth the
fucking-
herb.
I paid too much for this. I should have
It
came on
was
a
disgusting.
Tuesday.
I won't name them.
Well, places like that, they sell fucking extra pairs of like fucking nylons for the girls, so in case a dude like skeets on them or fucking they get a hole in one, they have other ones. Like it's an
Those are the
interesting
questions I
lifestyle.
want to ask.
And there's another thing that you'll hear, and I'm pretty sure the bigger strip clubs have it. I don't know if like All Stars would have it. They're called like house moms or something. They literally are there to kind of keep the girls in line, make sure they're not getting coked up too much, or that
Madams
they're
and
fucking
shit.
they're not getting too drunk or whatever, or just to give them support in the back, like come on, like you know, don't freak out, blah blah blah, because like the ones who are in the industry just making that money and just you know like you know just trying to literally pay for school or something, they're probably the minority or the exception to the rule. I mean, a lot of the girls, they're just young and they see the attention they get. They might have been abused when they were younger, and they're making good money, but it goes quick, and then you get these the assholes that are there, whether they're like bouncers or fucking like promoters and shit that get them into fucking drugs, and then they gotta keep on working because they have expensive habits and, you know, social media, and they're going around with their nice Prada bags or fucking driving the nice cars and shit, and it's like, it's probably a crazy lifestyle. But for you to find a stripper that would be like with a real level head to talk to kind of like tell you how it is, that would be probably tough to find. I mean, like, unless George.
They don't need to have a level head. I just need to know someone just for the interview. You know.
Yeah.
They could be fucking spending all kinds of cash and be fucked up in the head. I got questions.
Oh, I can imagine.
But, like.
Yeah.
You might have to pay for that guest though if they. Hey, I want you to come in and sit down with 4 dudes. And if you don't mention payment, they're gonna be like, here's how this works.
Yeah.
You gotta pay me
must
per
be new
song
here.
in the back. If you want to talk to me for an hour or two, we gotta talk ducats. You know what I mean?
I'll give her that Kevin Hart
But-
spiel. I got to check in the savings.
What was I gonna tell you though? There was
About gross shit you saw, or just
no, it was a polecats related thing. Oh, isn't it sad watching a girl that can't get nobody wants to dance from her? Have you seen that? 'Cause I saw that.
I mean,
Have you seen that?
Did you?
No.
Give her a dance.
Oh man, come on.
But no,
How do
like,
you notice that?
She's
And not
like, they're
say,
brand,
Got
like
a
I
pretty
remember
wet.
being there, and then they were like either new or they just weren't attractive. Like it wasn't for them to be there, because like you said, there's top notch quality out there, right? Like if you go there, I feel like it's kind of like playing pro ball. Like you're out there with the pros. Like all these broads got badass bodies, and if you ain't cutting it, like your first night's gonna be really rough. And I had a girl, and nobody would we just didn't know what to do.
I feel like
walking around
I feel like those particular women now have, like, they have options, you know, with OnlyFans.
Yeah, but even still, she can't have a very big subscriber count.
I don't know. Remember I told you about the one client that I had that had an OnlyFans.
The one that wasn't getting too much attention. What was up with her? What was wrong with her? She was a little thick.
No, she was very thin, frail, almost malnutrition.
There's a fan base out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
OnlyFans
king for
is
it
probably
somewhere.
really helping them now because it probably
Yeah.
allows the
I guess
user
I'm-
base to search for that person.
I'm projecting my preferences on the rest of the world, like she, like yeah. So,
There's a market for it.
but it wasn't that
There's a market
podcast. That's
for
for
fucking everything.
I mean, we talked about
The internet calls it Rule 34.
Rule 34. Yeah, there's a market for everything.
What were you saying?
Remember we were talking about me having an OnlyFans? That
Yeah.
there's a market for me.
Good.
Yeah, there's a market for whips.
Right there, Rule 34, Albert.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is. Like honestly, they talk about dad bods, and the funny thing about that little tidbit, I heard it on a podcast. They were saying that dad bods is a real thing.
That people like a lot of people, women like dad bods.
Well, that dad bods happen. Apparently, some of the pheromones or something that a woman gives off during pregnancy actually causes testosterone to be lower, so people start developing guts and shit, you know, while they're
Fucking
nursing kids. So,
gross, yeah.
you know, if you can supplement or something while your fucking old lady's pregnant, it might help. But
I don't know what my excuse then is.
I don't know, but I think sleep apnea can interfere with stuff like that too. That's why I'm trying to like be really on my fucking game as I get older, because you don't want to feel like shit, you know, that you're
I could
your
see
levels
that.
are right.
I mean, I
Well,
really
it messes
pegged
with
it
all
on.
your hormones too.
I could see that because it really fucked me. When we had my daughter, yeah, it started really hitting me then.
Yeah.
That's when it really started kicking up on me.
When Jacob was on his way, I gained a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
That was
cravings.
probably the biggest I.
What's that?
I had cravings.
Did you?
Yeah, food cravings. Yeah,
For real?
Did you carry a full turn?
I've heard that before. Yeah.
Big Mac. I had to have a Big Mac every day.
While your old
It was
lady- while your old
Whoppers
lady
for
was
us.
pregnant?
Not every day, but all.
I didn't even need a drink. Like I just Big Mac. And that was it. And I would get upset when I wasn't able to get it.
Like almost like a fucking withdrawal. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I've done that once. Just got upset because I couldn't get a Whopper.
Do you have kids, Hans?
I don't have kids.
No, I don't yet either. We're trying, but
Yeah, same here.
but some women do like dad bods, dude. I had a female friend, Guatemalan girl, beautiful. She's like, I like a little bit of a belly, like a pot belly or like a fucking beer gut. Like,
Pre-diabetic.
I guess, or maybe almost there, or full diet. I don't know. It's crazy.
Borderline hypertension and all that stuff.
I had to do.
She's gonna watch this podcast for the wrong reason.
Right.
we got a fucking belly buffet in this one.
Yeah.
If that's what you're into, ladies, like, we'll start an OnlyFans. It'll be like sometimes on Sunday, fucking OnlyFans with featuring the
Oh shit, we gotta come out with a calendar.
Yeah, there's 5 of us. There's 12 months. We can take turns.
Wolves is gonna be the best seller.
Oh yeah.
It'll be like that prison calendar at fucking Half Baked, Nasty Nate and the boys or whatever. He's got that fucking Speedo on and shit like that. Fucking A, bro.
Man.
You can call me thick and pasty.
We'll call you White Lightning
White light.
or something.
I had every name growing up, and like in high school. Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember. I was Transparent Man.
Transparent man.
Trevino.
Miklo.
I didn't
Milk
remember that
Weed.
until you said it, but I think I heard somebody say that before.
Nah, I had every. Yeah, I was. Yeah. So.
I mean, let's give context to people listening. The people we went to high school with, like, going to high school with all dudes is an interesting social experiment. Like, you can't go to the bathroom and leave your fucking book there, because if you do, there will be penises drawn on every motherfucking page by the time you come back. If you got to take a shit and you're in there 10, 15 minutes, you come back.
It's
Dick.
funny. Those dicks.
Dick.
Dick. Look like Bezos' spaceship. I wonder if that was like the foundation for his diagram.
I wonder during the launch, when they were like counting down and then they finally reached 0, did like somebody scream out "cock rocket"?
I was dying. I was praying for like 2 parachutes to just drop from it as it was going.
Testicles descending.
I think I read somewhere that the successful launch, they called it a money shot.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, where's the sound? Put the sound up. Play.
Oh shit!
Oh. Never mind.
There we go.
There.
Oh, I love how you have there's a rim shot, they call it, as opposed to the rim job, which is something a little bit different. Yeah. For all the tongue tickling people out there that love that shit.
Are you gonna create a social media page for your podcast? Because I feel like you could have one. You do good with one.
Maybe I should. I mean, like when I first got started, my advisor was Renee Costa from Full Bars Media, and he's like, "You're starting out right now, like you are." He's like, "If you don't have a large following, you may as well just put it under your personal name or your shit." So like, my YouTube channel is just under Brian Tierney. My, you know, and everything else, I just do it through my my Facebook. Which, although I hold myself out as a lawyer on my personal page, I use as like just a personal as well as business as well. And then I also have a business page for that, which is cool because you can, through a business page, you can boost your stuff, which you guys might do with you know, sometimes on Sundays. And if you do that, the cool thing is you can kind of like target specific zip codes, which is where I feel like you get the most bang for your buck. Because if you just do their little radius tool, I feel like you don't get as many views. But if you just put in specific zip codes, you kind of see more. But
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed that with some promotion tools. Like, if you just kind of generalize it, like, at least my experience, you don't really benefit a whole lot if you just kind of just let them figure out who your audience is.
I feel like that too. Yeah.
So,
Like your sign, that could be like your main logo for like your IG page or something like you got going on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I got a website for it. I'm not like super huge on social media. I'm kind of like against TikTok. People are always like, "Dude, you gotta get a TikTok. You gotta get a TikTok." And I'm like, first of all, like my little comedy bit about that is that like the Chinese used to try to figure out how to steal our information. Now we just give it to them voluntarily for a TikTok account, or, like all over your phone. The funny thing is, apparently TikTok in China is much different than it is here. So like here we have like people doing dumb dances or fucking whatever. Like over there they show like videos of like athletes excelling and like
Just positive reinforcement.
yeah, and they shut it off at a certain amount of time. So to avoid the distractions we have here with kids, I don't know how they do it or whatever, but it is literally like 10 or 11 p.m. at night in China, fucking TikTok is down. It's shut off. Or maybe social media in general. And, you know, you can fact check me on that
Like
or whatever.
that logo that would pop on the TVs way back when they stopped airing shows.
Yeah, like the 3 barcodes with like
That's on
purple,
TikTok
green,
from, like,
blue,
11
black,
to-
white.
Yeah, 11.
That logo, I'm going to tell you the story behind that. So I came up with that when I was a little high on pot one day. And so I was like thinking about like, what am I going to call this podcast? Because like, you know, if you're like fucking, you know, some famous comedian or something, you just use your name because everybody knows who you are and it kind of grows that way. but Blessed Life University, it was a mixture between Snoop Dogg's "I'm living my best life,"
Oh, okay. Yeah.
and then the other one was Kanye says in one of his songs, "I'm gonna take you to that ghetto university." And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like that sounds kind of cool. And then I'm like, I'll call it BLU for short, like Blue Podcast. So that's how it all came together. I just wanted it to look like a university logo, so you see like the little, I don't know if those are olive branches or whatever the fuck those are, and then the knowledge torch. I call them knowledge torches. I don't even know if that's what those are, but I always, ABL, always be learning, because like the thing about me, the reason I don't want to do like a TikTok is like, for me it's like meaningless, like nonsense. It's just fucking brain waste and shit. Like part of, you'll see on the website I have, it'll say like your podcast for learning, meaningful education, fun, and entertainment. So like I'd rather give something for people that is more of substance, that maybe like I looked on YouTube, most of my viewers are around our age group, but for the younger generation to think, food for thought, like if they're not getting it anywhere else, like I want to kind of be like the older brother, like that mentor for people to listen to, like, yeah, he's got a fucking point, man, like, because it's going to be incumbent upon younger generations to make changes in this country.
Nah, we're taking the Charles Barkley route. We're not trying to be a role model.
Expand on is that a quote from him where he's kind of like, I'm not
here to. Yeah, from the '90s, he would say, "I'm not here to raise your kids" or some shit. But I think he spit on a kid once too.
Jesus,
it's pretty admirable. I applaud him.
Testicular fortitude to spit on a fucking child.
Fuck you, son.
Well, sometimes they have it coming, dog. Like if I'm.
They do.
I'm going to have to agree with
somebody
you.
hits me with a fucking Sprite, I think I might spit back at him, dog.
Yeah.
So,
or fuck his mom.
So speaking of,
maybe that's
Fuck
why
out his dad.
That's why you hit him with the Sprite. In the
Yeah.
You fucked my mom.
Yeah.
You're also my dad, and I never got a fucking dime.
You shouldn't have thrown that Sprite, motherfucker.
I gotta take a quick break.
Don't go for it, dude.
Barkley
We'll
actually
even-
he said that. Did
We'll
you
each
hear
take
that?
a turn, because after you, I'll probably go piss, but we'll keep the conversation going. It's all good. We don't even have to edit this shit out. I don't fucking bother with that. Whatever.
okay, got it. All
I
right.
mean,
So,
we'll wind down in a bit anyway. Right now we're at about the 2 hour mark, which is
2
fucking
hours.
dope, dude. I think
This has been fun. We were looking forward to this.
yeah.
it's a real cool journey, and I'm really pleased with everything we've talked about. And I'm excited for next time too. And like, I'm excited about the idea to come in and hang out with you guys in the man cave.
Yeah. We just got a new chair, so we're piecing it together. But whenever you want to come on, man, hopefully soon. Yeah, that'd be great. We gotta get George to open it back up for us. I think we got another episode coming up. I think we might be going.
Don't know when.
No, probably after we get back from. I'm gonna be in Dallas next week.
Enjoy.
Yeah, it's business, but I'll enjoy it as best as I can. And then we're trying to get somebody big and local from the alcohol industry to come on our show. And then I think he's got somebody lined up already that we're going to work
James
with.
Killen.
And then, I think we could have you on. That'd be really, really good, man. Like, that one girl you've had on here, she's a comedian too, right?
Yeah, Adriana Nana Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to put us in touch with her. I'd like to. We kind of want to. We've been trying to have like a comedic or a comedian on in general.
Yeah, and you know what? I really need to work with her a little bit more. We wanted to do like a comedy Christmas, and I will definitely put you in touch with her. She's a friend of mine from grade school. She lives, or I don't know if she's still in Summit now. She was I think she was in Chicago, and then she was back to Summit, because I knew her from St. Joseph grade school over there in Summit, and it's funny how I went to St. Joe's High School after that. But
How'd you meet the other woman? The one that comes from the north side?
the Tilsa, the one
Yeah.
who's like the regular co-host.
Yeah.
She was a friend of a friend, so my friend's Cindy Mesa, shout out to Cindy Mesa over at Realty Chicago. She was like, oh, I have a friend who you guys should meet. She's like, she does podcasting too, and she was on a cool podcast that they've kind of, or at least she left it. It might still be going, but she left it, and she's kind of hanging out with me doing this now, and might start doing her own thing. It was called Cafecito con las Chingonas.
Nice.
Yeah, it was just some badass bitches sitting around talking about their badass bitch stuff, and mostly about like dealing with fucking asshole relationships and shit like that, probably, and just different things. But I met her through a friend of a friend, and then Adriana, I've known her forever, and Adriana, I'm so proud of her. I went to see her at the Laugh Factory, and it's like, for me, I was in a band back in St. Joe's High School, and we played around a lot of places, and I was actually, in one of my young days of my dreams was like, yeah, I wanted to, I love that thrill of being in front of a crowd and just the response you get and the applause and all that. It was always real cool. And so so I always liked doing that kind of thing. And so for her to see her, like, I knew it was a big deal to play a big venue when I was coming up. So like I remember we played this place called U.S. Beer Company, which has since closed. They were on the north side. Then we played another place called Oasis 160, and there was like huge touring bands that would come there. And for us, it was like, dude, we're making it now. You're getting in these venues. We tried to play at the Metro, which was huge years ago. That's where like Disturbed had their album release party, and there's so many huge shows that went on there. Smashing Pumpkins, all these different people that have done shows there. And one of our classmates, Nick Delacroce, they still have a band. They've toured Europe. They play the Metro every once in a while.
I remember Nick Delacroce.
So yeah, and they're pretty good too. I went with Bobby Baziric and a couple other people.
Hey, how is he doing?
He's doing well. He's a Berlin firefighter.
Oh, he's still in Berwyn?
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
when I checked he was doing that.
Yeah, he lived in different locations. It was so weird how his story went. He was like, he got a job with the Homer Glen Fire Department, and he moved out that way kind of like after he started working with Berwyn. So it was kind of like this weird like crisscross of like you're working there and you're living out there now. But he's back in the home where he grew up, you know, in his childhood home, or you know, or that he lived in when we were going to high school. His mom passed away recently. She had pretty bad lung cancer, and then she also
Condolences.
yeah, my condolences too. And she also got COVID, which kind of put her over the edge with all the issues with the
Yeah.
lungs. But he's doing well. He's over there.
Good guy.
Great guy, dude. Solid, and one of the best guys I know, man. I remember there was one time we got into not into a fight. It was broken up before it happened. Not me and him against each other, but we were at Bourbon Street down here and in Marionette Park over there between Pulaski and Kesey. And there was this like girl, and she was like dancing like in my face, and we're making eye contact. And this was years ago, so if my wife hears this is like a really long time ago. And this dude comes up and fucking shoves me, and like out of nowhere, like, and I didn't see it coming. I was like, what the fuck? He's like, got your face in my girlfriend's pussy. I'm like, dude, like, how the fuck did I know she was your girlfriend? You were nowhere around. She's up there dancing. She's making eye contact with me. Like, keep her in check if she's being a flirt. Biz had my fucking back, dude, right away. Every time some shit like that would happen, he'd be ready to bust a bottle or fucking get in there. And I remember at the end, the bouncers came over and we kind of all talked it out. And the guy's like, put his hand out to shake Bobby's hand. Like, I'm not shaking your hand. Like, he's one of those guys as a man of real honor. And I'll tell you what, his dad was one of those old school fucking Cicero guys. I remember he would like tell us little stories to try to like, you know, like kind of keep us tough. And he's like, one time I was in the fucking, you know, the pool hall or the bowling alley, and he's like, this guy came in that didn't like me. He's like, I took the little hockey puck off the little shuffleboard like bowling thing. So I kept it in my hand, and he's like, I thought this guy was gonna make a move, and he's like, I fucking smashed the bridge of his nose with that hockey puck. I busted it wide open. And he's like, let me tell you something. He's like, you never take your eyes off a guy. He's like, always keeping your eyes on him so they don't fucking pull a move on you like that. And that's how Bobby was raised. So he was always kind of that, like me and him were like fucking two peas in a pod, because my dad used to, or like he would box like kind of like on a, not in a competition level or anything like that, but he always had that strong, like, don't ever let anybody like get the better of you. You better be ready for a fight. Like, he put me into boxing like briefly before I went to St. Joe's. I wrestled there for a little while freshman year and shit. So I was always into that kind of thing. That's why to this day I love like the macho, you know, UFC and just this competition of skill physically and all that. So he's doing well. Some of the other guests I got, I mean, I don't know. I know that guy, the government affairs director, Chris Anderson, through Realty. And he's a cool guy, cool enough that he'd come and sit down with me because he's busy lobbying City Hall all the time or Springfield.
Is that the one you were talking about election with?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The first time he came on, I can't remember what was we talked about just various issues within real estate, but then this time he wanted to keep it more specific to elections because we just had the primary election that passed here back in June. So he wanted to keep it to that. But yeah, I mean, that's most of these people I know, right? Like you guys probably have a large network of people just through friends, family, coworkers, or the neighborhood or clients or whatever that you can bring in. You know, I just try to find people that have something interesting to offer, something that gives fuel to the conversation that people can learn from, that I can learn from, because I'm a student too in this as well. So like I always feel like today my cup is more full when I leave here. I always feel better when I leave here, like especially when you do a good solid one, which we definitely got in right now. But some of these guests, man, I just have a great time with them, you know.
Yeah.
So nice. I'm always trying to look for new guests too, and you know, maybe eventually celebrities or like fucking rappers or whoever, you know, like Twista's got a podcast I think here in Chicago, and you know, I'm planning on putting out a whole rap album within the next like year or two.
Are you really?
Yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I used to fucking, I for whatever reason, man, when I was younger, I just had a brain for freestyle, and it's kind of suffering recently. I don't know if it's just the lack of sleep or my fucking old age or whatever.
The
but
brain matter from sleep apnea is
yes, you know what I mean? And seriously, like, dude, I'm always trying to take fish oil and all sorts of different supplements to kind of keep my body good. But yeah, I'm planning on doing that. I'm thinking I'm gonna call it On My Terms, because, you know, people tell you like stop dreaming, you know, they tell you how to think, how to feel, the whole fucking deal. And I just, dude, I would like smoke, and then I'd get like a melody in my head or whatever, and the fucking lyrics would come to me. And like, I'll give you an example. Like the probably one of the first singles I'll put out is one called All the Right Ingredients. Couple, 2, 3 bad bitches and a bottle of alcohol. Whiskey'll make her frisky. Tequila will make her clothes come off. Baby, bring me that drink so I can top it off. When you're rolling with me in the VIP, ain't no telling what might pop off. And like, I don't have the best singing voice, but I want to get like collaborate with a Chicago artist who can sing a hook like a Nate Dogg type of thing, and fucking just drop the lyrics to the motherfucking basement, son. You know what I mean? Like, you got to take chances, man. Like, you get one life. Life is short. You don't know, like, my philosophy, one of my guiding philosophies is a quote by Denzel Washington when he gave a commencement speech at a college. And he said, every gift or talent that you have in life that you don't use will be a ghost that will haunt you on your deathbed, and your goal should be to have, like, none of those or as little as possible. So I'm like, fuck it, why don't I put it out there, dude? I'm like, there's people that are lesser men than me or women than me that fucking put out shit. It's like, why not give it a try, you know? And I'm not saying, like, I want to be, like, a fucking crazy famous rapper or fucking tour or something like that, but give it a try and see what can come from it, you know?
I've always been kind of jealous of, like, anybody with, like, artistic talent. George, I didn't even know you had a rap thing going on. Or even music. I didn't even know you had a band back in high school. But I've always been kind of jealous of, like, people who have, like, an artistic talent, because I can't draw a stick figure to save my life. So.
I'm kind of...
So it's just like, every time I see people, like, create music, create art, what's it called? Just create in general. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like I have that creative talent, but I don't
You're creating right now, dude.
Yeah.
This is not for everybody. Not everybody does this. There's not many people who could sit down and literally freestyle a conversation for like 2 hours straight. It helps with the more people you have, because everybody has their own perspective or something to add.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's just like, that's one of my few, because like to your point, like, I can never draw. I was never good at certain things, but I'm like, you know, I can make a hook. I can think of lyrics that go together well. I can do that stuff. So I'm like, I want to explore it. It's just, that's the one thing that's kind of on the back burner as time goes on, because like, my job is very demanding. You probably know when you have a huge client load and there's deadlines to be met or there's different shit. Like, people expect it. That, you know, I asked my old boss, or one of the guys that worked in the firm, who was kind of like one of the owners of the property or whatever. I was like, was this easier before cell phones or harder? He's like, oh, it was easier. He's like, people understood that you don't get an instant response and it takes longer to do it. So it's like trying to find the time to do it. I'm trying to, you know, we're trying to start a family and all that. So it's been a little rough, but with Matt coming here, I feel like we're stronger together. I'll introduce you guys to him one day. Great guy, super intelligent. He researches issues very well, and he's very good at reasoning them and kind of like putting them into context and talking about them. But he's like kind of like my accountability partner for exercise and also stuff like this. Like, he's writing a book right now, like a horror fiction, kind of like Stephen King type of thing. And then he also would probably help me out with some of it, like when I'm like, whiskey will make her frisky, he hits me back with tequila will make her clothes come on. You know what I mean? And like, I have so many fucking ideas, dude. And you know what was funny? Like, I went out to that real estate event fucking Thursday night, and I drank on an empty stomach, and I was embarrassed. Like, I was acting a fool a little bit, but within, you know, reason.
What did you do?
I didn't like, you know, like fucking step out of line or whatever. But
Did you need representation?
well, I'm lucky I didn't lose my phone. You know what I mean? I lost my billfold, which, you know, it is what it is. I'll order another one. My cousin gave me one from the U.S. Armies, and he was retired military, and he gave it to me. I'm like, fuck, man, I had that thing forever. But I'm like, what if I lost my phone? Because I had so much fucking intellectual property on there, dude. I had like 2 or 3 years of songs that were coming to me during COVID. That I'm like, if I lost that, like, I would have had great ideas that would have disappeared. Because like Rogan always said, like, ideas are like a candle that burns out, or like a flicker of light. Like, once it's gone, it's gone. Yeah. So literally last night, I was like, after that, it was a wake up call for me, because I actually almost had a bad one before where the phone was like about to do a reset, and it was like, if I had hit the wrong button, it was gonna like fucking completely reset, and it would have wiped everything. and it was like in Chinese or something. It was kind of fucking weird. But anyway, I'm lucky I didn't lose that because I'm like, dude, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you forget a debit card when you're out and you forget to close the tab. You're in a hurry to get the fuck out of there. You're buzzed, whatever. Like, if I had lost this fucking phone, like, dude, it would have hurt me for a long time. So last night I was at my mom's. I'm just chilling, and I fucking opened up a Word document on the phone and copy and pasted from my memos because I have like the little memo thing on there.
Yeah.
Put them all in one spot, and fucking, you know, now I saved it to Google Drive and all that shit, so I can group them by category, you know, whittle them down, and then add onto them with the lyrics and shit like that. I had a dope ass one. I'll try to freestyle it and remember it right here. Stepped out the spot. Haters try to rob me, all messed up, but the putos got sloppy. Had him on camera and I conceal carry. I had my boy with me and he concealed carries. Had my boy with me and he had a 9 milli. Fairy tale maker, one shit get scary. Don't think I'll do it, dog, best not dare me. Be a long day, but you catch me slipping, cause I'm as great as 23 and Scottie Pippen, ooh. And I just, you know, like, once you memorize them, that's the thing. Like, you'll mess up, you'll make mistakes, so if you don't have it memorized, or if you're freestyling, you're just going off the cuff. But when I was in the band back in the day, I used to practice in a basement just like 3 blocks down from this office. And like, once you have it memorized, you just fucking hit it, and it sounds good. Like, I want to bring that passion into the fucking studio, and just, it's just an avenue of expression, man. Like,
Right.
if the whole thing of being human is like, you know, you need an avenue of expression, and that's one of mine. So, and I keep on mentioning it all the time just so that, like, I've said it out loud because I want you guys to hit me in like 6 months a year. How is it coming along?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I noticed, well, you were calling it out. You brought up Joe, and now you got Joey Diaz here, the Candles and everything.
Yeah.
Are those your favorite comedians?
Chappelle is probably my all-around favorite. Bill Burr's got an incredible new special out now. I think I was never huge on him, but I feel like as time goes on, like, his work was getting better and better. For whatever reason, I liked him more. So Bill Burr is one of them. Joey Diaz certainly, like, he reminds me of, like, the old school kind of like tough guy, like a guy like my dad, who's like an old school.
Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that
You know me,
saying
dog.
he says.
Like,
You know me, dog.
and he's still hip. He's like, if you saw, he's on one of the things on Netflix. It's called The Degenerates, and he has like a 20-minute or half-hour spot on there. And he's like, you know, I'm out here, I'm just dropping it like it's hot. And the way he says shit, like, he'll take a newer line from like popular culture and fucking use it. And then, because he's like an older middle-aged dude, like, and he has that vulgarity, and he's just he goes off on those rants where
His
it's like
stories are the best. Listening to them,
the best.
Yes. They're the best.
Yeah, he's got great stories.
Well, he knows how to set the scene.
Yeah.
Another thing he did, and he talks about it, is that he journaled a lot. So, like, you think, like, how does he remember all this shit? Like, he had an aunt or something when he was younger, told him, like, you got to write down your shit, which I've been trying to do. I haven't been, like, super disciplined on it, but I got to catch up on the last couple of weeks. Because there's so many years and times and shit, like, that we had in Joe's. Like, if I had just journaled it.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot
yeah.
of good moments.
Well, yeah, we
Needed
would have
moments.
these things. Like, literally,
Agreed.
you'd remember how you felt, what that motherfucker was wearing at the time, and all these details. Because, like, you're painting a vision that people connect to, and you're almost taking them on a journey where it's like they're seeing it with your words, and he's so good at doing that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I think one of my favorite stories is when he was talking about doing coke in the stairwell with some broad I forgot from the store.
She wasn't up and up.
Yeah, and he's like, so she tells me, Joe Rogan, you know, I'll fuck you if you can guess the color of my panties. and he's like, I didn't know fucking color. I said fucking green. She says, pink, good enough. And then they
Yeah, I had a feeling that's where it was going. Like, she was gonna let him do it no matter what.
Yeah, it's that type of shit where it's just like, it's so good. So I think we've been going to a lot of comedy clubs. So,
Shows, yeah.
well, clubs or shows rather, not necessarily
Yeah.
clubs, but Mark Norman, if you don't know who Mark Norman
He's
is,
fucking one of the best out there right now.
Andrew Schultz, I just ordered his specials coming out tonight. So
We saw him too last year.
We saw Schultz live. We saw Mark Norman live.
Norman's
Bill Burr's
great,
up there.
dude. Yeah.
I like
He's
Bill
coming
Burr a lot.
November.
Chappelle's like, he's just at this level like God.
Yeah.
You know, in comedy. So I don't put him in a
He's
ranking.
the Jordan of our time, right?
Yeah, like I don't put him in a ranking anymore because you just know he's already up there. He's like he's
You
in
got
the,
Carlin, Pryor, all those guys.
Yeah,
are
he's
I
up
think
there
this
like
era.
that Mount Rushmore of comedians.
Yeah,
at this
for
point,
sure.
it's who's doing something really good now, and the up and comers, or not even up and comers at this point. But I think if you know Andrew Schultz.
Schultz.
I've heard of him, but I haven't. And I think I've seen him on Rogan.
He does
but
a lot of
Yeah.
I haven't
insult
s-
comedy.
Yeah,
I haven't seen his material.
he's doing really good. His special's out tonight. he actually bought back his special from. He didn't specify who it was, but they were gonna take out some of the jokes because they were too,
Offensive for
offensive for people. Yeah. And so he wanted to protect the sanctity of comedy, and he just bought it back. I think he spent a good chunk of change buying it back, and he had everybody pre-order it. And I'm looking forward to it, man. He actually saw my my story on IG. So did Mark Norman. When we saw Mark Norman, I just kind of took a photo of the stage and called him out on it. I saw him. I saw him see the story, and then Schultz, when I called him out that I ordered his pay-per-view, he looked at my story. But I'm waiting for an actual meet, or like it'd be cool to meet those guys.
Well, you never know, man. If you see, the thing is, like, Rogan never thought he'd be Rogan probably in 2009, but it's the consistency of doing it.
Yeah.
And it's just like this momentum you get. It's like a snowball going downhill where it will get bigger. So, like, for me, I already enjoy doing it anyway. So I'm like, I'm going to keep on doing this till the motherfucking wheels fall off. But you never know. You hit them like that, and then they see you have something. They might be like, hey, when I'm in town doing the set, whatever. Like, I've thought about it before.
That would be awesome.
I would do it, and I would literally pay, like, private security to, like, keep an eye on the front and the back, while these people are here. Because, like, my buddy, shout out to Louis Diallo, who's been on this podcast before. He owns Studio 63 nightclub. He bought it in September, a year or two back, and he has, like, I don't know if he has a company that supplies it, but there's regulars that he always has, and I would literally post somebody up, like, front and back to make sure that shit's fucking airtight while somebody's here. But yeah, you never know if it can happen, and like the answer is always no unless you try.
Yeah.
Right.
And it'll elevate it into something bigger.
Yeah. I think Burr's coming to Chicago in November. Rogan's gonna be here in the 10th of August. They just added a 10 p.m. show for August 10th.
Fuck, maybe I'll get tickets. I saw Rogan at the Chicago theater, and I had just had ACL surgery, and my leg was in a fucking brace, dude, and the seats are a little narrow there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I had this stiff-ass leg, and I'm sitting like this the whole time because it wouldn't really fit well there.
Yeah.
So it was uncomfortable, and the pain was firing like crazy because I think it was literally like 4 days after I had the fucking surgery. It was in 2018. I don't know, people can debate about whether he's one of the greats. I really do like his comedy. I think he had a special Triggered. There was the first one he put out in like 2016. It was the first one he had done on a while on Netflix. I'm like, some of that shit in there, his thought processes were fucking gold, dude. I'm like, he's doing these skits about like which way the world's turning when he's high, when he's fucking sitting on the boat and shit, and shit. And then the skit he had about the Obama and the White House, he's like, not that much diversity and shit. I'm like, and then the way he ended with the Bruce Jenner skit, where he was like getting up on the stool and shit, and like the lights went dimmer and dimmer. I'm like, dude, that's good. That's theatrical right there.
Scholes, he likes Scholes a lot. He put Scholes on to a lot. Like, he's been promoting Andrew Scholes' stuff, and Scholes he's pretty racy, man. Like, not racist, but like his shit's edgy.
Yeah, it's edgy.
Like the shit that he said about abortion was pretty fucking messed up, but funny at the same time. It was good. You gotta check him out, man.
Well, tell me what you got, because you said his special's coming out tonight.
Yeah, so one of the skits, and I'll throw it out here, it was about abortion. So he was going at the ladies, and obviously this is a real big fucking issue, right? And it's a perfect time for comedians to poke fun at it. And he said something along the lines of like, let's keep it real, ladies. What is it, George? Let's keep it real, ladies. Chivalry ain't dead unless until that baby is. And so he kept, and like that the baby would be in there pounding like, no, I'm still in here. That's not where a coat hanger goes. And like shit like that. Yeah, and it's pretty tough.
Appreciate that, because I feel like, the comedians of the past didn't have to worry about some of the shit they said. Like, another guy, if you ever want to see a fucking wild ass dude, Sam Kinnison's got a few specials on Netflix. Dude, there's some of the shit I didn't agree with. He was like bashing Ice-T one time, saying like that rap is like stupid or something. Go fuck yourself. But he had a special where he was talking about like cheating on his fucking girlfriend or something like that, and it was fucking hysterical, as she was saying. And then there was another time, it was like live in Vegas. He had like 2 strippers, one on each arm, that like escorted him up the stage. I'm like, this guy's a savage.
Yeah.
And they like, apparently there were so many stories of him like where they would just line up like lines of coke, and he would just do them because unfortunately after a while it was kind of like part of the persona, like, I gotta do this, and it's like, Jesus, you're gonna die of heart of it.
What was the other one that shows it? He did the crowd work one that made me laugh one time when that big scandal with Trump grabbing him by the pussy.
Yeah, kind of grab her by the pussy.
And Schultz was making fun of that. He goes, "You wish a billionaire would grab you by the pussy.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You're out here fucking around with these thousandaires. That's why your pussy smells like fucking Wendy's."
Yeah, it's like, yeah, who thinks that? It smells like Wendy's. Like, Wendy's not that bad.
Yeah,
Wendy's
so
pussy.
it's like that. That
A
shit's
nice little
like-
double cheeseburger or some
Yeah,
nuggets with
yeah.
a frosty. That shit is great. Dude, Tim Dillon, man.
Oh, Tim Dillon's awesome. Anthony
Incredible.
Jeselnik is awesome.
Jeselnik, I love Jeselnik, dude.
Like that guy,
That dark
he goes
ass
hard.
humor.
Yeah, he goes fucking hard too. So
Dude.
I love. We really do enjoy comedy a lot. Like that's why when we say something, we try to be funny or whatever, but we want to make sure that we keep our platform as open as possible for whatever we say. Just know that it's not being serious. Like, you know, where we our hearts are in the right places.
Yeah, it's for the sake of
Yeah.
getting a laugh.
Yeah.
You have to
Make
take,
it
yeah, you
happen.
have to take a risk for that. You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to be morbid about some of your traumas. Like I've had family who had cancer. I've had friends who have cancer. I've lost friends. I've lost family to cancer. But I still crack a joke about it because it's the best way I just deal like with just the bullshit and just the kind of trauma that I just deal with. So it's not like I don't take it too seriously because the fact remains like if you don't laugh you cry essentially. So.
Well, that's true. And they say, like, in Russia, they live such a hard life over there. They have great sense of humor. They sit around, they'll sip vodka and shit, and they'll just
Yeah,
they're
like-
laughing at stupid shit, like kids wrestling with bears or fucking cars that go into the lake or the river and get, like, taken away and shit. Like,
I mean, like,
Yeah, you would. I mean, when you're out there, I mean, that's why I think we're so soft, right? You know, like as a country, like people coming up now, everything affects them. Words hurt them so much more, and it's like these guys got it so much harder somewhere else. But I think we're pushing the 5 o'clock hour, and I know you need to go.
it's almost 5:15.
No, I'm
Yeah.
good. Finish your story.
No, that's all I was gonna say
Yeah.
right now. But yeah,
Yeah, fucking hard times make hard people, soft times make soft men or whatever, and all this shit. And like,
Yeah.
I think that's a Rogan quote. Yep, and you know that is true. Hurt people. That's another one he says a lot, and I believe in that a lot. I know that personally in my own life. But I think we're kind of seeing a shift back now. That people are taking a little bit more risks, you know, and and they should be able to. And that's another thing we'll have to see as well, you know. And the topic we'll cover on maybe the next one is like the education system in America too, and maybe more about the values in that, and just diagnostic education where you're not just forcing everybody to do the one size fits all bullshit. Like,
oh, I think the school system's so jacked up.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Like I wasn't a good proponent of the school. Like I didn't make it. I barely got through high school. You know.
yeah,
So,
dude, my ACT score was like 17 or 18. Like I was barely able to get into community college, but I ended up forcing myself to.
Oh,
be
I saw you at
disciplined enough
Moraine.
to-
I remember you went to Moraine.
Yeah.
We saw each other there.
Yeah, I went to Moraine, started out there, and my parents kind of like signed a paper, or grabbed the paper for me, and like made me sign up. And you know, I was lucky that I had that positive, upbringing where they forced me in that. My dad believed in the value of education because that's what separated people in Ireland, among social classes. Those who were educated, and those who weren't were the farmers or the whatever, the commoners and shit. But yeah, no. We'll kind of talk about that probably more on the next one because, like they forced us to do all this shit that just causes us stress, right? Like they had us trying to take like all these physics and fucking, the advanced math like trigonometry and shit. It's like, dude, I'm a lawyer and the most complicated math I use is a multiplication, subtraction, division, and whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
that's it.
You got to come out to these comedy clubs though with us, man.
Dude, I will, man.
Yeah,
Like,
we'll
let
have
me
to-
know when you're going.
Matter of fact, I think because George and I are the only ones that have been going.
Yeah.
Off-
I
you
went
know.
to see Segura too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Seguro's good.
yeah.
Oh,
He's
Seguro's
Great.
good.
Love him.
Kreischer and all those guys.
Kreischer.
Like, it's a
Theo
good-
Vaughn is fucking.
Theo
hysterical
Vaughn is really funny. Bobby
Yeah,
Lee's
Some
funny.
of the female,
Bobby Lee's
Nikki
great.
Glazer, I fucking love her, man. She's incredibly funny.
Yeah, I think we should try to plan a day or a night where we all go if we can. If you guys can make it, find a comedy special that we want to go to, and
Dude, there's some really.
even if it's Laugh Factory.
That's what
I
I'm
was
saying.
telling Carlos the other day, Mr. T's daughter, she's a comedian.
No shit.
And
Wow.
she's local. She's here in Chicago.
Do you know her
Oh, shit.
name or what?
Yeah, I'll get it to you. I forgot her name.
Because that girl Adriana, dude, I'll connect you guys with her. She's taken me like to a lot of local clubs, and I have another friend, Michelle Flores, at Realty Chicago, and she came up in the comedy scene a lot too, where she just like hung around with a lot of
Over in
comics.
Berwyn?
Yeah. And
Okay.
And dude, like some of these local comics are really fucking funny. Or
Yes.
you'll have someone that'll come in from Indiana or like Wisconsin or Iowa or whatever, and like you hear them and you're like, man, that's like on the level with some of the shit you would see on Netflix. So there's a lot of like local people here to support.
Yeah, they just haven't
For
been
sure.
discovered yet or whatever. to go mainstream. But yeah,
I kind of like that grassroots kind of stuff, though. Like, up and coming guys and
Right.
like guys who like starting out. I like seeing them then, like when they're starting to grow, and then see them later on when they're actually, you know, finally big famous. Like, oh, I remember when you made that stupid joke that no one laughed at, but I laughed at it.
Well, it's great. Yeah, you want to see the success because you know these motherfuckers live a hard lifestyle and sacrifice a lot. They don't make a lot of money. They get fucked over by managers and agents and shit,
Yep.
and they're just trying to get there. But the great thing about all this is that the internet, social media, even the playing field, where like guys like us, like we've never had like a fucking show before, but now we can do it. It's as long as you want to put that work and effort, and that's what
yeah.
it's
Yep.
about.
I think we're gonna get there. We'll all get there. So,
Yeah.
but
Consistency is key. Thanks a bunch for stopping by, guys. Is there anything you want to add or say before we sign off?
you want to plug it? You want to plug it? Who wants to plug it?
Where to find it?
All right.
You plug it. Go ahead.
S.O.S Podcast 4, IG. We're on YouTube, sometimes on Sunday's podcast channel.
Yeah.
We're on sometimes.
Yeah,
on
I mean that's
Sundays.
sometimes on Sunday's podcast. Follow us on IG, like George said, SOS podcast _4. We got Unicorn in Human Form right
On
here.
IG.
It says like, his logo. Hans, we call him Hattori Hanzo on the show.
Hans Rotansky everywhere else except for Truth and Social.
I'm
Or
Arkham.
Parlor.
I'm Arkham 2442, and then you got
Wolves
Wolves.
_SOS.
So yeah, come follow us, check us out. We'd love to have you. Help us grow the brand. And
And thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you for having us, man. We had a really good time here.
thank you.
No
It was fun.
Well, we look forward to having you on our show too.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here, and I look forward to being on yours. And do you guys, real quick too, are you on like iTunes or Spotify, any of that?
You know what? That was the one thing we need to branch out.
Yeah, we're
only on YouTube right now, so we're working on trying.
We've
to
been
get
on
this one
YouTube
out.
just trying to get the basics,
Correct.
get our flow going and make sure we get the cameras and the audio right and all that. And once we kind of build a little base, now we're starting to.
But doing this today, I think I would say we're gonna start incorporating some headsets because the audio sounds better
Yeah.
right now than it ever has.
It kind
without
of
Yeah.
brings you into the conversation. I
Yeah,
feel you're
yeah,
more
yeah,
focused.
it
really
really
does.
has. It's helped out a lot,
Yeah.
quite a bit. So,
And before you leave, I'm gonna show you the site that I use to put one feed in to broadcast it out to iTunes,
Oh, yeah.
Spotify,
That's awesome.
Pandora,
Yeah.
Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, the whole fucking deal.
Okay, yeah.
It's so affordable too. It's like $15 a month. So I'll show you that, and before you guys head out and grab a bite.
all right, man.
So signing off, there's something I always say at the end of every podcast. A lot of things are contagious, and kindness is one of them. And if you're going to invest in anything, I believe in investing in kindness. Why? Throughout my life, like I try to start with a position of respect and acknowledgement and kindness to people of all walks of life, and that has allowed me to get along with people of all walks of life, right? All races, all different walks of life, genders, whatever. And so, in times like this where there's a lot of negativity in the world, just say hello to people, acknowledge them, make eye contact with them, thank them, hey, good morning, how are you, thanks for that, thanks for hooking it up, to the person at Dunkin' or whatever. And, I believe that we can all go very far by doing that, and we need it more than ever before. So, be kind and respectful to people, and be positive. Good people make each other good. Tune in next time to the next episode of the Blue Podcast and the Sometimes on Sundays podcast. And for everybody out there, we love you. Be good to each other. Peace out.
Thank you, Brian.